Chapter 4562. If the Palace of Darkness is unable to get the memory they want from me, will they let us out? Yiqing Luo raised her hand and placed it gently on her chest. Gently, it was pressed on the direction of her chest. Dmo Xian shook his head. No, they should know about that memory earlier. The Sovereign of God Emperor had injected her divine phoenix profound heart jade's energy into your body. They should be trying to find the real location of the Divine Emperor's tomb through you. Divine Emperor's tomb. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyelids slightly. She had roughly guessed the real motive of the Palace of Darkness. It should be to find out the whereabouts of the Divine Emperor's tomb from her. Back in Nirvana realm, when she met the Dark Forces, King of Darkness's target was her profound heart jade. It belonged to her and not the Sovereign of God Emperors. As for the Palace of Darkness, they had tried to deal with her several times but they didn't dare to harm her life. Because the Palace of Darkness knew that she was the daughter of the Sovereign of God Emperor. She could find the Divine Emperor's tomb. More accurately speaking, only she could open the door to the Divine Emperor's tomb. The Palace of Darkness's real motive was the Divine Emperor's tomb. So, Palace of Darkness wants to find the exact location of the Divine Emperor's tomb through that memory of mine or to find a way to open the tomb. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes solemnly. Both, I guess. Dmo Xian caressed her hair. Now that we're clear of the Palace of Darkness's motive, we're not considered to be too passive. Yiqing Luo nodded her head vigorously. Amen, we need to hurry and find the array core, then break the array and leave this place. One more second in the array. Yiqing Luo felt flustered. Who knew if the Palace of Darkness would come up with something new to force her consciousness out? Just at this moment. Suddenly, a dazzling ray of light appeared in between the two of them. This sudden ray of light made the both of them unable to react in time. The next moment, the both of them felt a blinding ray of light in front of them. Subconsciously, they shut their eyes. The ray of light quickly enveloped the both of them. Then, the light gradually dissipated. Yiqing Luo then slowly opened her eyes. After the strong light, her eyes still felt uncomfortable. She rubbed her eyes and said, Ah Xian, what kind of trick is this formation going to play? However, there was a moment of silence. There was no response from Dmo Xian. She grabbed a few. They could only grab air. Her expression froze and she hurriedly moved her hand away. The man who had always been holding her hand and hugging her had disappeared. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Clearly, when the light shone just now, their hands were still holding together. How could it be, all of a sudden, I can't sense his presence anymore? Ah Xian! Ah Xian! She raised her voice and called out, but there was no response. His surroundings were still that illusory space. It was just that the person beside him was no longer there. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk slightly, her long and narrow eyes squinted as she speedily surveyed the surroundings, maintaining her vigilance. This was obviously a trick of the Dark Nether Palace. He wanted to separate her from Dmo Xian, so that he could lay his hands on her. If that was the case, this formation could be controlled at any time. The person who set up the formation must be in the dark, silently observing everything within the formation. So he would make appropriate adjustments according to the situation within the formation. Chapter 4563. Which meant she could use this array to find the person who set it up. Yiqing Luo's eyes darkened. In the empty space, there was a vast expanse of whiteness that stretched as far as the eye could see. She simply sat on the ground. No matter which way she walked, it was the same environment in front. She wanted to see how well the Palace of Darkness could keep their composure. After Yiqing Luo sat down, She looked lazy, but in actual fact she was releasing her senses to sense all the changes in the surroundings. She secretly used her mental energy to try to contact the pet space or the Azure Dew bracelet. But no matter if it was the pet space or the Azure Dew bracelet, there was no response. This array also cut off the connection between her and the pet space as well as the Azure Dew bracelet. The Palace of Darkness was planning to make her isolated and helpless, so that they could penetrate her mental defense. Yi Qing Luo didn't move. The surrounding nothingness was also silent. The entire space seemed to be completely silent. Not a single sound could be heard. Not knowing how long had passed, Yi Qing Luo's heart was as calm as a pool of stagnant water, without any ripples. The Palace of Darkness couldn't find any opportunity to attack her consciousness. Suddenly, she felt a burning pain in her chest. As if a ball of fire was burning in her chest. Yi Qing Luo's breath stopped as her fingers pressed against her chest. That was the profound jade heart. It was agitated. Yi Qing Luo concentrated slightly as she tried to calm her emotions. The Palace of Darkness couldn't hold it in any longer. As long as the Palace of Darkness was anxious, she would be able to find the key to break this array. The burning and scorching heat in her chest was like a ball of fire, trying to break out from her body. This agitated feeling, it belonged to the Emperor of God's profound jade heart. As if it was about to leave her body. Your profound jade heart is the key to open the Emperor of God's tomb. In a trance, there seemed to be someone talking to her. The voice was very soft and the surroundings were very noisy. She couldn't hear it clearly. You are the key. Quick, use your key to open that door. As long as you open that door, you will obtain the supreme glory. The illusory voice was still ringing in his ears. When Yi Qing Luo heard that, she only felt the scorching feeling in her chest, as it started to surge. It was as if something was being torn apart. The ethereal and noisy voices in her ears kept vibrating in her brain. Yi Qing Luo only felt that there was something throbbing in her forehead. Her breathing quickened. He pressed hard on his chest. The secluded darkness palace was too sinister, he knew he could not shake her heart. To actually use hypnosis, to bewitch her. Yi Qing Luo shut her eyes tightly. He calmed himself down and calmed himself down. He tried hard to ignore the explosion in his head. However, the burning sensation in his chest was like a ball of raging fire. Tell me, the location of the Divine Emperor's tomb, and I'll take you with me, to ascend the throne. The pinnacle of humans. The noise was still ringing in his ears. Vaguely, she seemed to feel a large palm slowly reaching towards her. That was a hand that was totally different from Dmo Xian's. It gave her a warm feeling. Filled with hope. She didn't know why, but from this hand, she could see warmth and hope. But in her mind, there was a voice that kept repeating this. The young lady's eyes gradually became misty. Towards that hand, slowly. She stretched out her hand. Chapter 45-64. The young lady's fair fingers, under the vast whiteness, seemed to be plated with a layer of faint fluorescence. Slowly, it was placed into that invisible large palm. The fog spread, curling upwards like smoke. The young lady's hand came into contact with that large palm. Just as that large palm was about to hold the young lady's hand in the palm, the young lady suddenly moved. That soft and boneless little hand, her 5 fingers were like an eagle's claw, clasping that large palm. The young lady's pink lips curled slightly. When she raised her eyes, there was no longer any pain and confusion on her face. That large palm which was clasped by her, tried to retract in panic. But it was clasped tightly by the young lady, totally unable to move. Trying to escape. It's too late. Yi Qing Luo gave a cold laugh. as a piercingly cold glint flashed past her eyes. She grabbed that large palm, pulling it hard, bringing along a vast profound glow, as though it was going to devour everything around it. You've been deliberately mystifying for such a long time, it's time for me to see your real face. Following her chilly voice rang the violent actions of the hand. The surrounding illusory environment started to crack, turning into pieces of broken pieces. Broken pieces. The owner of that hand, which was enveloped by the illusory fog, gradually revealed a shadow. A tall and straight figure. Similar to the palace lord of Seclusion Palace, he was covered in a black robe, totally unable to see that person's appearance. The mastermind of Seclusion Palace. That person who had been plotting against her secretly. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold, as her body suddenly dashed towards that side. The other hand, swiftly stretched out, tugging the other party's black robe. Her hand was just about to touch that figure's black robe. A bam sound was heard. A cold glint flashed past. That person actually directly chopped off that arm which was clasped tightly by Yiqing Luo. Immediately after, with a leap, disappearing in the sky, in the midst of the broken pieces. Yiqing Luo. What the? This godly operation was simply too ruthless. Wasn't this fellow too ruthless towards himself? In order to maintain his mystery, he chopped it off. Yiqing Luo lowered her head, looking at that broken arm which was dripping with blood. He was speechless once more. She threw the severed arm to the ground. Motherf asterisk cur. Just a little bit more and he would know what the dark rat hiding in the dark looked like. It was difficult to get a field. Can't you stay a little longer? Don't you want to make a comeback by living in your lines forever? Hashtag complaints from the official site. Hashtag Yiqing Luo's heart felt worse than a husky. How could you not be affected? In the shattered space, a strange voice that was so deep that its gender and emotions could not be discerned drifted in from all directions. However, Yiqing Luo heard the bewilderment in that person's tone. She looked around her. It was impossible to determine the person's location from the direction of the voice. She narrowed her eyes and her lips curled into a cold arc. After fighting with you so many times, don't tell me you still don't understand that all the illusions you've created have no effect on me. Dmo Xian had reminded her right from the start to maintain her own consciousness. The moment she separated from Dmo Xian. Thus, she armed herself with armor. From the moment the hypnosis technique which bewitched her rang in her ears, she was already on her guard. Pretending to be fooled was just to force out the real mastermind. Ha! Ha ha ha! That illusory voice suddenly laughed. That sinister laughter was extremely treacherous and terrifying. Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 45-65. Young lady. You're very confident. That cold voice seemed to be wrapped in frost. Confidence is a good thing, but blind confidence will only make you die faster. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change, her slender brows raised slightly. This sentence, I'll return it to you. She paused, then her lips curled into a smile. I think, even if I'm really going to die, you won't bear to let me die. So, even if you die, I won't die. The surrounding air seemed to have condensed into frost. It was especially gloomy. After a long time, that cold voice sounded again. Young lady, you're very smart, but unfortunately, until now, you're still not able to understand the true meaning of the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers gently pressed on her chest. Her pink lips curled slightly, as she asked with a smile that didn't look like a smile, so what? Even if I'm unable to understand it, this profound heart jade is ultimately mine. Even if you want it, you won't be able to get it. The Overlord isn't by your side, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. Aren't you afraid that this seat will take action personally? That cold voice revealed a threatening chill. Indistinctly, it was mixed with the excitement of meeting prey. Yiqing Luo's expression still didn't have much emotional changes. She gave a sarcastic smile. Oh. The person who just chopped off his own hand and ran away wasn't me. The voice stopped in an instant. A fragmented environment. Once again, it fell into dead silence. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped slightly, as she gazed at her own fingers pressing on her chest. Her long and narrow eyes were suffused with a faint glow. You set up this array, actually your motive is not only to obtain the blood-bone barbaric king's memories from my mind. Before you said that earlier, I was still thinking, what is your motive, the real motive of this array? Now, I can basically confirm it. That voice laughed lowly. Tell me about it. Yiqing Luo's finger tapped on her chest. If you wanted this divine phoenix profound heart jade, you had a huge chance to directly dig out the profound heart jade from my body, but you didn't. In addition to what the King of Darkness once said a long time ago, my body is the vessel for this profound phoenix heart jade. This also means that only I can nurture this divine phoenix profound heart jade. What you want isn't the current profound heart jade, but a profound heart jade that's been nourished by my body and has already completely matured. Yiqing Luo's voice paused for a moment as the corners of her mouth hooked up into an arc that seemed like a smile that wasn't a smile. You wanted to control my body countless times, wanted to turn me into your puppet countless times. The array this time, I'm afraid it's also for the sake of allowing me to comprehend the true meaning of the profound jade heart, to be used by you. That sinister and treacherous voice, after hearing Yiqing Luo's words, couldn't help but burst out laughing. That strange tone, when he laughed, there was a kind of hair-raising feeling. Young lady, you're really very smart. No wonder you're the person whom this seat has spent so much effort to obtain. That voice's tone became treacherous and eerily cold. What a pity. After entering this array, before this seat achieves my motive, you absolutely will not be able to leave this place. That voice sneered. I wonder if those brothers of yours outside will be able to support you out of this array. Yiqing Luo's brows sunk slightly. Her gaze turned chilly, and the temperature also turned chilly. I've said before, that sentence of yours, I'll return it to you word for word. Don't be too confident. Dear, this chapter has ended. I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 45-66. That voice was indifferent. Young lady, you can't even find where I am and you're still trying to leave the array. That person's words had just ended. Suddenly, the voice stopped abruptly. A piercingly cold murderous intent filled the sky and earth. A loud, bam, sound was heard. A black-robed figure was sent flying and fell to the ground. That black-robed man suddenly flipped over and leapt up from the ground. Turning his head back, he met with a pair of shimmering peach blossom eyes, black to the extreme, like a deep pool, filled with icy cold murderous intent. Dmo Xian. Black-robed man's hoarse voice spat out 3 words while gritting his teeth. That voice was sharp and piercing. The purple-robed man slowly landed next to Yiqing Luo. His magnificent looks looked down on all living beings. His long arm stretched out and pulled the young lady into his embrace. The elegant sandalwood scent and the man's warmth made Yiqing Luo's body and mind calm down. Sorry, I'm late. The man's low and hoarse voice was mellow like fine wine. She could faintly hear the hoarseness in his voice. Yiqing Luo buried her head in his embrace as her little face rubbed against his chest. Not late, just in time to clarify the matter. She knew that Dmo Xian would try his best to find her. Even if the person behind the scenes from the Nether Palace had schemed to separate her and Dmo Xian. But between the profound Phoenix Ring and the profound Dragon Ring, there was an obvious connection. This meant that she and Dmo Xian were still in the same space. And they weren't too far away. Based on Dmo Xian's ability, seeing through the illusion and finding her was just a matter of time. Dmo Xian's brows sunk slightly as his chilly gaze shot towards the black-robed man not too far away, the person behind the scenes from the Nether Palace. Yiqing Luo popped out her little head and looked at the black-robed man. It shouldn't be his original body. This was an array set up by the Nether Palace. It belonged to an illusion space. Appearing here, other than the two of them who entered the array, were real people. The rest should be an illusion that was created. And this black-robed man in front of them, he should belong to the person behind the scenes from the Nether Palace. A strand of soul. That was why the mastermind of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness had cut off his arm without hesitation. At most, it would only affect the minds of the people behind the scenes of the Dark Palace a little. Smart. The person behind the scenes of the Gloomy Palace sneered. The person who was shrouded in a black mist of evil energy could not be seen at all. Yiqing Luo moved her finger. A feather fan slid out. She gently swayed, and the corners of her mouth rose into a cold arc. I also know that this wisp of divine sense of yours is the key to breaking the formation. The laughter of the person behind the Palace of Darkness froze. Immediately after, the body shrouded by the sinister aura suddenly leaped into the crack in the space. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian exchanged glances. The corners of his lips curled up. Immediately after, they leaped up and followed closely behind the figure covered in black fog. She was just saying it casually. The reaction of the person behind the Palace of Darkness gave her an accurate answer. Dmo Xian had already blocked in front of that black-robed man. The black-robed man wanted to retreat. But his path of retreat was blocked by Yiqing Luo. But moments later, they were already in a mess. In this array, the person behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness was merely a strand of divine sense. Before he could withdraw, he was restrained by Dmo Xian. How could he be Dmo Xian's opponent? But after a few rounds, the person behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness was already stepped on by Dmo Xian. The black robe which was shrouded around him fell onto the ground. However, the evil yin qi that lingered around that person's body was wrapped up tightly, making it impossible to see the person's face. End of this chapter. Chapter 45-67. Yiqing Luo walked up as she squinted her eyes, trying to wave away the sinister qi. But Dmo Xian grabbed her hand. Don't touch. Yiqing Luo stared at that person. I'm curious, does this sinister rat look like a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks? Young lady, this is just the beginning. You'd better pray that you will never understand the true meaning of the profound jade heart. The person behind the scenes of the Nether Palace said coldly. Under the thick black fog, she could vaguely feel a sharp gaze falling on her body. Apparently, the person behind the scenes was warning her. The moment she understood the true meaning of the profound jade heart, that was when he appeared. Yiqing Luo smiled. Don't worry, when I understand the true meaning of the profound jade heart, you will not have the chance to get close to me. The person behind the scenes of the Nether Palace sneered. That foot which was stepping on her chest increased its strength as a warning to Yiqing Luo. The person behind the scenes laughed as he started coughing violently. Hope you can continue to maintain this confidence. We shall see. As the cold voice of the person behind the scenes from the Palace of Darkness fell, the thick black yin qi around him abruptly bared its fangs and brandished its claws towards Dmo Xian's legs to twine around. Dmo Xian's eyes sunk as he quickly retracted his leg. Grabbing the young lady's slender waist, he leapt up. The sinister qi spread out in this shattered space. The dense black qi brought along a treacherous eeriness. It was this gap, The person behind the scenes of the Nether Palace suddenly plunged towards the shattered pieces not too far away. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as a glint flashed past her eyes. Her fingertips flicked. The alluring red glow turned into a flowing light as it chased after the figure which had disappeared. Ah! A miserable shriek rang. The surrounding shattered space suddenly shook. The shattered pieces started to disintegrate. Sinister rat is just a sinister rat, trying to escape with your tail between your legs. The young lady's voice was arrogant and disdainful as she slowly kept her glower flame fan. Earlier when that person made use of the sinister chi to create trouble. She made use of the glower flame fan's energy to lock onto that person. If that person wanted to escape, the glower flame fan's energy would also chase after him. As the space fragment disintegrated, a ray of sunlight gradually appeared. It also revealed the surrounding desolate ruins. The formation was broken. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and gazed not too far away, towards the direction where the profound rays were spreading. They should be over there. Dmo Xian held her in his arms and flew towards that direction. A great battle ensued. Yan Xiaoyi and the rest were all wounded. The Huangfu clan's troops obeyed Huangfu Dongyu's orders and continued to attack. The four of them fought side by side. A bunch of useless trash. Ren Jianying raised her head arrogantly and looked coldly at the four people who were covered in blood. It was hard to tell if they were themselves or someone else. Then, he leaped up and slashed at the four of them with his sword. The majestic profound light was accompanied by a sharp chill. Her target was Qiao Jin. Amidst the sharp profound light, there was also a dark aura that made one's hair stand on end. In the instant that he attacked Qiao Jin, the dark aura bared its fangs and brandished its claws, clawing at Qiao Jin's face. Be careful. Yan Xiaoyi raised the blade of the black scythe and slashed out two black profound rays. Her body speedily dashed towards Qiao Jin. Her petite body blocked in front of Qiao Jin. Bam! The two profound rays were totally unable to stop Ren Jianying's attack. The profound rays landed. It fell straight onto Yan Xiaoyi's chest. A gush of blood instantly spurted out. The young lady's soft body crashed into Qiao Jin's arms. Chapter 45-68. Xiao Yi. Qiao Jin hugged the girl's slender body and roared out her name. Bright red blood dyed their robes red. The girl's pale lips were also stained with blood. A dark light flashed past Qiao Jin's eyes as he glared at Ren Jianying. Ren Jianying smirked, her face filled with viciousness and arrogance. I wanted to leave it to them, but the Huangfu family is all trash. I don't have so much time to waste here. She waved the sword in her hand. The dark light merged with the dark evil energy, like a poisonous snake sticking out its scarlet tongue, making one shudder. On the other side, Huangfu Dongyu and Huangfu Fengyan, who were called trash by Ren Jianying, stared at Ren Jianying with ugly expressions. They felt indignant. But they didn't dare to retort. Ren Jianying glanced at Yan Xiaoyi in disdain and smirked. Do you want to die together for love? I can grant you your wish. She leaped, the sword in her hand stirring up waves of wind. Boundless dark energy pressed forward like a hot knife through butter. Qiao Jin hugged Yan Xiaoyi and stood there motionlessly. His head was lowered and his expression couldn't be seen clearly. They could only feel the anger emanating from his body. Ren Jianying sneered and didn't think much of it. The sword fell and the sword waves surged. The dark waves turned into turbulent waves and crashed down. Qiao Jin. Huangfu Xing wanted to rush forward and block this move for them. However, the Huangfu family's men had him and Gu Zixi locked down. The moment they moved, they were blocked by countless men. Bang! Ren Jianying's sword wave fell. The earth shook. Crushed stones flew and endless dark light seemed to be able to devour everything around it. The surging sword wave was like a tide. The violent attack engulfed everything in its surroundings. Qiao Jin's figure carrying Yan Xiaoyi was instantly hidden between the sword wave and the dark light. Ha, weak! Ren Jianying snorted in disdain. Qiao Jin. Jin. Not far away, Long Yunzhan and the rest who rushed over saw this scene. Their eyes were bloodshot as they stared in disbelief at the scene before them being devoured by the dark aura and dark aura. When they sensed this scene, they were stunned. He rushed over as fast as he could. But, he still didn't make it in time. Each and every one of them stood rooted to the ground, staring blankly at the scene before them. The tyrannical profound radiance and Yin evil chi formed a black vortex in midair. The surrounding air and the tumbling gravel were all quickly swept towards the vortex. Long Yunzhan's eyes were so blue that they were deep, like the surface of a lake, causing layers of huge waves. I'll go save them. Long Yunzhan's 5 fingers clenched tightly, unable to believe everything that he saw before his eyes. With a leap, he rushed towards the direction where Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi were being swallowed. Leader. Tong Ziqing hurriedly pulled him back and said with a trembling voice, "Don't be impulsive, Jin Zi and Xiaoyi wouldn't want to see you get hurt because of them." No one could determine just what kind of danger was hidden in the depths of that vortex. If they were to rush over there, not only would they not be able to save them, they might even lose their lives. Don't tell me we're just going to stand by and watch. Long Yunzhan's eyes were filled with raging waves. His eyes were bloodshot red. Wait. Tong Ziqing suddenly saw something. Leader, look. Look over there. The few of them looked in the direction of Tong Ziqing. Chapter 45-69. Vaguely, 2 figures could be seen, faintly discernible. Immediately after, the dazzling golden light was like a sharp blade that quickly sliced apart the vortex. Evil energy surged. But as the golden light spread, everywhere it went, it was covered by the golden light. As the golden light became brighter, those 2 figures became more and more obvious. It's Qiao Jin. Huangfu Xing's eyes widened, exclaiming in joy. Under that majestic dark light, the faintly discernible figure, wasn't it Qiao Jin, and Yan Xiaoyi in his arms? The 2 of them were flying. A dazzling golden light. It enveloped the 2 of them. They were completely protected within it. No matter how the sword waves surged. No matter how the vortex tsunami. No matter how close they were to the 2 of them. This scene caused Ren Jianying's expression to darken. Her eyes were sinister as she glanced at the 2 of them, who were unharmed. The long sword waved rapidly. Once again, she launched a brutal attack. The long sword fell. The shocking dark wave rolled like a tide. Like a bolt of lightning, unstoppable. Bang! Vaguely, Qiao Jin, who was under the golden light, slowly raised a hand. When the dark light collided, the entire space shook. But the person under the golden light did not move at all. The vortex, under the pressure of the golden light, gradually dissipated. The man, who was hugging the woman in his arms, slowly raised his head. That pair of golden eyes, which were so golden that they were without any impurities, was ice cold. Golden eyes, the power of the Huangfu family. Ren Jianying's heart moved, her face revealing a rare panic. The Huangfu family, the purest golden eyes. They were simply the nightmare of the entire heavenly realm. People who possessed golden eyes, their strength could be called Tai. This Qiao Jin. He was actually from the Huangfu family, a person with such pure golden eyes. Can't be left alive. This person definitely can't be left alive. Ren Jianying suppressed the anger and restlessness in her heart. The sword light flipped, once again launching an even more fierce attack. When she attacked, her killing intent was awe-inspiring. Go! Long Yunzhan recovered from his surprise, seeing Ren Jianying's successive attacks becoming increasingly fierce. He immediately leaped up, charging towards Ren Jianying. Qiao Jin hugged the person in his arms tightly. He protected her tightly. He wouldn't let her get hurt in the slightest. His golden eyes reflected the girl's beautiful face. It was as if he was relying on his body's instincts to counterattack and attack. The only thought in his mind was to protect the person in his arms, protect her. I can't let her get hurt again. Ren Jianying's eyes darkened, and she looked at Long Yunzhan, who was not far away. She stepped back. He fiercely pulled Huangfu Fengyan over and threw her in Qiao Jin's direction. You guys actually didn't tell me that he is the true successor of the Huangfu clan. This is your Huangfu family's matter, you can settle it yourselves. Huangfu Fengyan had yet to react. He had already been thrown in front of Qiao Jin. When she met Qiao Jin's emotionless and pure golden eyes, her body went limp, and she screamed. He turned around, intending to flee. Qiao Jin stretched out his arm and grabbed onto Huangfu Fengyan's shoulder. His 5 fingers turned into eagle claws and directly pierced into Huangfu Fengyan's body. Fresh blood instantly dyed his hand red. Viscous blood dripped down. Qiao Jin seemed as if he didn't realize just how crazy his actions were. Just as he was about to directly pierce through her heart, the person in his arms, her fair little hands weakly grabbed onto Qiao Jin's wrist. It was just a light touch. Chapter 45-70. Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi. Qiao Jin's eyes were filled with joy and worry as he lowered his head to look at the person in his arms. How are you? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Yan Xiaoyi took a deep breath and smiled at him with difficulty. Don't let the dirty blood stain you. Qiao Jin's eyes widened. The person in his arms was smiling with great difficulty, but she still managed to maintain the smile on her face. Yan Xiaoyi's breathing paused as she shut her eyes tiredly. Jin, I'm a little tired and want to rest for a while. Group leader and the rest are here and Qing Luo is also trying her best to find us. Be well, don't be stained by those dirty blood. Towards the end, Yan Xiaoyi's voice was almost unable to speak. Only the sound of air was left. She could feel that Qiao Jin had been controlled and dominated by those golden eyes. Qiao Jin. Almost subconsciously, he started a massacre. Especially when Huangfu Fengyan's blood spurted out. Qiao Jin's consciousness became increasingly chaotic. It was as if he was on the verge of exploding. This feeling made Yan Xiaoyi extremely uneasy. Even though she was in Qiao Jin's embrace, even though her face was reflected in his eyes. But she felt that the distance between her and Qiao Jin was getting further and further apart. This was not the first time she had seen Qiao Jin's golden eyes, but it was the first time she had such a feeling. I can't let him touch blood again. He would be enchanted by the golden eyes and lose himself. Qiao Jin hugged her gently as his pair of pure golden eyes were suffused with a faint golden glow. Don't sleep. Xiao Yi, don't sleep now, wait for Qing Luo to come then you can rest. He sounded a little panicked. The emptiness in his eyes had been replaced by anxiety. You're still flirting with each other. Huangfu Fengyan's eyes revealed an ominous glint that was filled with resentment. She covered the wound where blood was continuously seeping out and turned her hand into a sharp claw that was covered in a profound glow. Then, she forcefully slashed towards Qiao Jin. She hated Qiao Jin. He hated this person with the purest golden eyes. But Qiao Jin's attention was always on Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Xiaoyi could no longer hear his shouts. Xiao Jin's heart became increasingly flustered as he called out Yan Xiaoyi's name over and over again. The smile on Huangfu Fengyan's face twisted in excitement. His 5 fingers that resembled an eagle's claw emitted waves of profound light that grew even more intense. Jinzi! Long Yunzhan bellowed angrily, and he already arrived in front of Xiao Jin. He raised his hand and grabbed Huangfu Fengyan's wrist. Gotcha! Huangfu Fengyan's face turned pale as she miserably screamed. Long Yunzhan's palm slapped onto Huangfu Fengyan's shoulder. He was sent flying. Huangfu Fengyan rolled on the ground a few times before she could support her broken hand, which was contorted in pain. Long Yunzhan grabbed Xiao Jin's arm as a trace of anger surfaced on his cold face. Jin Zi. What the hell are you doing? It was as though Xiao Jin could not hear his words. He just lowered his head and repeatedly called Yan Xiaoyi's name. Long Yunzhan's lake-like eyes surged with great waves. Xiao Jin. His voice was deep and maddening. She placed her hands on Xiao Jin's shoulders and stared sternly into his pure golden eyes. Xiao Jin. Do you know exactly why Xiao Yi is lying in your embrace? Because she wants you to live. She doesn't want to see you get hurt. If you're killed, how are you going to protect her? Are you still worthy of her actions of sacrificing herself in order to protect you? Hurry up and read the latest updates. Chapter 45-71. Long Yunzhan had always been solemn and cold. It was rare to see him in such an irritable mood. Xiao Jin's pupils constricted slightly. He slowly raised his head and looked at Long Yunzhan as he called out in a hoarse voice, "Leader, it's fine as long as she wakes up. Don't disappoint Xiao Yi." Long Yunzhan let go of his shoulder and looked down at the person in his arms. "Xiao Yi will only have time to heal after dealing with the matter in front of us." Xiao Jin replied in a hoarse voice as his golden eyes slowly looked around. The Huangfu family's troops all looked at Xiao Jin's golden eyes in shock. Their eyes were filled with uncontrollable reverence. As members of the Huangfu family, they naturally knew. The person with the purest golden eyes was the successor of the Huangfu family, their future master. Even the current patriarch of the Huangfu family only had a purer golden eye. What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and attack. Huangfu Dongyu saw that the Huangfu family's troops had the intention to retreat and immediately roared. He had a sinister expression as he shouted, "Didn't you see that he injured fourth young mistress? He's just trash that was removed from the Huangfu family. What can a pair of golden eyes represent? Has he made any contributions to the Huangfu family?" No. The Huangfu family's troops turned their heads to look at young Master Huangfu with hesitant expressions. They also knew that Huangfu Dongyu's words were very true. However, the thoughts that were deeply ingrained in them since they were young, pure golden eyes were equivalent to the thoughts of their future master, couldn't be erased. Xiao Jin. They retreated. None of the troops dared to make a move. Huangfu Dongyu roared a few more times. His face was flushed with anger. He flicked his sleeves and was about to ask Huangfu Qifei what to do. However, Huangfu Qifei had unknowingly picked up Ren Jianying's long sword and leaped into the midst of the Huangfu family's troops. The long sword waved. The sword wave was like a surging tide. "Ah! Ah!" Screams rose and fell, resounding throughout the entire space. The Huangfu family's troops instantly turned into dismembered corpses under the sword wave. Blood splattered and flesh flew. It was a cruel and bloody scene. Huangfu Dongyu's face instantly turned pale, and his voice couldn't help but tremble. Third brother, what are you doing? Those who don't listen, just kill them." Huangfu Qifei raised the long sword in his hand with a gentle smile on his gentle face. But the words that came out of his mouth were so cold that it made people shiver. The Huangfu family doesn't raise disobedient dogs, in case they bite us instead. Huangfu Dongyu shuddered and stared at Huangfu Qifei in disbelief. These were all old elites that had followed the Huangfu family for many years. Huangfu Qifei killed without hesitation. Didn't they think that the relatives of those who were killed were still waiting for their return in the Huangfu clan? Big brother, if you can't steal your heart, then leave it to me to decide. Huangfu Qifei stabbed his sword into the ground as the corners of his mouth curled into a warm and gentle smile. He looked around and saw that there were still more than 20 people from the Huangfu clan still alive. He smiled and asked, "May I ask everyone, which one do you want to choose?" That smile was bone-piercing cold. The Huangfu family's troops were all trembling from the sword aura just now. They only knew that Huangfu Qifei was the most gentle person in the Huangfu family, a graceful and elegant young master. But they never thought, only today did they know that the so-called gentleness was just a mask. Hurry up and read the latest update. Chapter 4572. Immediately, they trembled and expressed that they were definitely on their side. Huangfu Qifei's lips curled up in satisfaction as he gave the next order. In order to show that all of you are sincerely following me, kill Huangfu Dongyu now. Third brother. Are you crazy? Huangfu Dongyu did not expect that Huangfu Qifei would actually have the intention to kill him. Huangfu Qifei smiled. If I don't kill you, how can I legitimately become the master of the Huangfu family? He glanced at Huangfu Fengyan, who was covered in blood on the ground with disgust, and pulled the corners of his lips. To be honest, I've put up with all of you for a very long time. One is as dumb as a pig and still thinks that he's important all the time, as though everyone else is a fool. In reality, he's always being toyed with by others and is being used as a tool without knowing it. One is relying on his identity as the first young master of the Huangfu family and the fact that he's about to inherit the Huangfu family. He doesn't even think about us brothers and sisters. Huangfu Qifei scoffed. There's no such thing as feelings in the four great families. You. Huangfu Dongyu's face was pale. He clenched his fists tightly and looked at the people of the Huangfu family who were originally following his orders warily. A ruthless glint appeared in his eyes. I'm the first young master of the Huangfu family, the future successor of the Huangfu family. If all of you are still loyal to the Huangfu family, kill him now. He's killed so many people of the Huangfu family, so many elders who have been loyal to the Huangfu family for many years. He'll definitely kill all of you. All of you can only choose me now. Let's kill him together. However, no matter how he shouted, the people of the Huangfu family stood on Huangfu Qifei's side and approached him step by step. Huangfu Dongyu slowly retreated. The expression on his face became more and more panicked. On the other side, Ren Jianying's eyes were filled with disdain and mockery as she watched the scene of her brothers killing each other. She had only said a few words casually. She could easily provoke the ambition in Huangfu Qifei's heart. This feeling of controlling other people's lives was really great. She glanced at Xiao Jin and the others who had already gathered together, and the disdain on the corner of her lips became even more obvious. Suddenly, a violent explosion came from behind. Ren Jianying quickly turned around to look. The place where the palace master of secluded darkness palace was sitting exploded with profound waves. The ground collapsed into a huge black hole. The palace master of the Netherworld Palace knelt on one knee on the ground and stared blankly at the direction of the explosion. There seemed to be some kind of emotion surging in his eyes under the black robe. Lord Palace Master. Ren Jianying hurriedly jogged forward and put on a concerned expression. She stretched out her little hand to help the Palace Master of Gloomy Palace up. Her hand had yet to touch him. He raised his hand to stop her. He slowly stood up from the ground. A black robe cascaded down from the sky, covering everything about him. He didn't even look at Ren Jianying as he walked past her to the side of the black hole. His eyes stared blankly at the black hole. His thin lips trembled slightly. They have come out. What? Ren Jianying did not quite understand what he meant. However, the palace master of the Netherworld Palace ignored her. He slowly squatted down. The black robe fluttered. The profound wave swept over. In the black hole, a few fragments of the mirror fell into his palm. He kept the fragments, turned around and flew away. He didn't even leave a word behind. Ren Jianying, who was ignored, turned pale. She clenched her fists tightly and suppressed the indignation and anger in her heart. Chapter 45-73. She was, after all, a beauty that all men would be attracted to. She was also very clear about what she looked like the most. What actions could attract men the most? However, this palace master of the secluded palace didn't have any thoughts about her at all. One day, she would make the palace master of the secluded palace bow down to her. Ren Jianying calmed herself down. Her gaze landed on the black hole below. She seemed to have seen. The palace master of the secluded palace took out the mirror fragment from the black hole. The palace master of the secluded palace sat there, staring at the mirror. The explosion just now was because the mirror broke. How could that mirror break? Qiao Jin hugged Yan Xiaoyi and stood there silently. Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi supported each other and stood beside them. Looking at the front, the Huangfu family people surrounded Huangfu Dongyu. Gu Zishi sneered, "I knew that third young master Huangfu wasn't a good person, now he's showing his ambition." Huangfu Sheng caressed Gu Zishi's hand and looked at Long Yunzhan. "Why don't we take this chance to go to the Huangfu family?" Qiao Jin's mother was still imprisoned in the Huangfu family. And the old man. Once Huangfu Qifei gained power. With Huangfu Qifei's ruthlessness, Huangfu Qifei would definitely kill old man Huangfu and Qiao Jin's mother. Long Yunzhan looked at Ren Jianying, his cold face emotionless. "You guys go first, Ziqing and I will deal with the Ren family people." Ren Jianying has cooperated with the secluded palace. Her current strength is far above us, you guys might not be her match. Huangfu Sheng shook his head worriedly. "I will stop her, you guys go to the Huangfu family." "Don't talk nonsense, I told you to go." Long Yunzhan looked at him indifferently, then flew towards Ren Jianying's direction. "Wait! Look over there!" Suddenly, Gu Zishi exclaimed. Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing paused. They looked towards Gu Zishi's direction. Huangfu Dongyu was still trying to use a bigger temptation to convince the Huangfu family people. However, the eyes of the Huangfu clan's group were filled with killing intent. One of the older elders looked at Huangfu Dongyu and said, "Eldest young master, in terms of strength and talent, you're indeed inferior to third young master. Handing the Huangfu clan over to third young master is the best choice. Eldest young master, just obediently accept your death. In the future, under the leadership of the third young master, the Huangfu family will once again ascend to the peak, and you will be able to obtain a good reputation." After the old man finished speaking, some of the younger people behind him chimed in. Huangfu Dongyu's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He glared at the people in front of him with hatred before glaring in Huangfu Qifei's direction. Are you going to betray the Huangfu clan? Aren't you letting down the Huangfu family's many years of nurturing by doing this? We're just doing this for the sake of the Huangfu family. The Huangfu family's troops swarmed forward. His killing intent was awe-inspiring. Huangfu Qifei stood high above, his gentle face still maintained a warm smile. "Big brother, don't struggle. I will soon send Huangfu Fengyan to accompany you. Your deaths will be the last thing I will do for the Huangfu clan." Facing the encirclement of over 20 people, Huangfu Dongyu didn't even have the chance to fight back. When the profound wave pressed down, he closed his eyes in despair. Chapter 45-74. Suddenly, a gush of devilish glow burst out from Huangfu Dongyu's body. The 20 over people who were crowding around started to cry out in pain as they fell onto the ground. The dark glow flickered. A slender figure could be seen faintly. Under the devilish glow, her dress fluttered in the wind. Like an excited fire elite. Noble and disdainful, it made one feel an inexplicable chill. Huangfu Dongyu waited for a long time but didn't feel the pain that he had imagined. He cautiously opened his eyes. He saw a figure which almost dyed his eyes red standing in front of him. Her entire body seemed as though it was plated with a layer of pure holy light. His pupils suddenly constricted. His heart felt as though it was being strangled by something. Who is it? Huangfu family's men fell onto the ground. Clutching their chests in pain, they started to climb up and shouted angrily. When their gazes saw that red-robed young lady, a sliver of panic flashed past their expressions. Gu, eldest young miss of Gu residence. It's eldest young miss of Gu residence. The crowd cried out that young lady's name. Eldest young miss of Gu residence. Yiqing Luo. When Huangfu Dongyu heard this name, he was stunned. Yiqing Luo would save him. Yiqing Luo would actually save him. No. This was impossible. How could the lady in front of him be Yiqing Luo? Huangfu Dongyu staggered up from the ground as he looked at the young lady in front of him in a daze. Until he saw the young lady's face clearly. He then believed. The person in front of him was Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo stood elegantly in front of Huangfu Dongyu. The expression on her face was indifferent without any extra emotions. A pair of long and narrow eyes casually swept across the group of people from the Huangfu clan, and the corner of her mouth curled into a cold arc that seemed to be a smile that wasn't a smile. Yiqing Luo. Huangfu Chi Fei saw the person who suddenly appeared and his expression sunk. You. How did you? Didn't Patriarch Ren say? Yiqing Luo had already fallen into the array which she had set up long ago. And also vowed that even if the Overlord was around, Yiqing Luo would absolutely not be able to escape from the array. Why? Did Yiqing Luo coincidentally appear here? In the face of Huangfu Chi Fei's doubtful and interrogative gaze, Ren Jianying was also shocked. Her eyes widened as she looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. The expression on his face alternated between green and red. He suddenly thought of the scene where the palace master of the gloomy palace's mirror cracked and he left in anger. Could it be that? When the mirror's surface cracked, it represented that the array had been broken by Yiqing Luo? Ren Jianying's face darkened, and her eyes were filled with hostility. The palace of gloomy darkness was also unreliable. She really thought that it was foolproof. Unexpectedly, how long had he trapped Yiqing Luo for? The array was broken by Yiqing Luo. Ren Jianying clenched her slender fingers, and her eyes were filled with venom. Amidst the brilliance, she kept searching for ways to kill Yiqing Luo in her mind. As for me, what I hate the most are disloyal dogs. The girl's lazy voice sounded leisurely. Her brows raised slightly as she glanced indifferently at the Huangfu family's direction. Following that, her gaze fell onto the astonished Huangfu Dongyu. Don't misunderstand, I don't want to help you. I just don't see eye to eye with them, so I conveniently took action. Huangfu Dongyu stared blankly at the young lady's exquisite face. Your gaze is rather disgusting, if you keep looking. Don't blame me for digging your eyes out. Yiqing Luo said coldly. End of this chapter. Chapter 45-75. This baby was a married woman. Especially her husband, he was a huge vinegar jar. Being stared at by Huangfu Dongyu. He was jealous to the extent of being unreasonable. Huangfu Dongyu's eyes flashed as he swiftly shifted his gaze away, stammering, "No matter what, I still have to thank you." "No need." Yiqing Luo waved her hand, not even glancing at him from the corner of her eyes as she walked past him, striding towards the direction of Long Yunzhan and the others. Huangfu Dongyu was still in a daze. This feeling of escaping from death made him feel a sense of exhaustion from being overly anxious. But the surrounding Huangfu family's men made him forcibly hold on to his willpower, tensing up his emotions as he stood there. Yiqing Luo walked to the side of Long Yunzhan and the others who were similarly in a daze. Qiao Jin was the first to react. He carried Yan Xiaoyi as he rushed to Yiqing Luo. "Qing Luo, earlier Xiaoyi helped me to block a strike. Take a look at her injuries. Has the profound yin qi entered her body?" His tone was filled with anxiety. Yiqing Luo took a look at the person in his arms. The lady's delicate face was pale. Even his lips did not have the slightest trace of blood. But the lady's brows were flat without any wrinkles. Yiqing Luo comforted, "There shouldn't be any profound yin qi." She held Yan Xiaoyi's wrist, lay Xiaoyi flat on the ground first. Qiao Jin did as he was told. Yiqing Luo took Yan Xiaoyi's pulse. "Don't worry, she only suffered some internal injuries and will recover after some recuperation. Feed her a medicinal pill first." Yiqing Luo took out a medicinal bottle from the profound phoenix ring. With Yiqing Luo's words, Qiao Jin's creased brows finally eased up a little. He heaved a sigh of relief as he received the medicinal bottle in a flurry. His hand which was holding the medicinal pill was still trembling. "Qing Luo, are you all right? Where's the overlord?" Gu Zixi and Tong Ziqing spoke in unison as they welcomed her, their faces filled with concern. "What can happen to me? It's just a trick that the secluded palace often plays." Yiqing Luo smiled at the both of them. "Earlier when we rushed over, we discovered another wave of energy. After leaving this mountain, he chased up to check out the situation. According to her analysis, the wave of power that left, they should be from the dark nether palace. The consciousness of the person behind the gloomy palace could enter the formation. This meant that the person was nearby. So Dmo Xian followed the source of the energy and chased after it. If the power that left was really the mastermind behind the dark nether palace, he would tell her through the netherworld phoenix ring and the netherworld dragon ring. The few of them chatted as if they were strolling around the lake. He was very relaxed and indifferent. He completely disregarded the blood that filled the sky. Ren Jianying stared at Yiqing Luo with a gaze filled with venom and unwillingness. Yiqing Luo knew her secret. She absolutely could not let Yiqing Luo live. A vicious light flashed in her eyes as she shouted fiercely, "Huangfu Qifei, what are you still standing there for? Kill her while Dizun is not here." The commanding tone caused Huangfu Qifei's brows to knit together slightly. But it was only for a moment. He lowered his eyelids as his voice was gentle. "Patriarch Ren, if I kill her and the overlord blames me, what should I do? Aren't there two ready-made scapegoats over there? What are you afraid of? Based on your intellect, pushing Yiqing Luo's death onto them isn't difficult, right?" Ren Jianying's voice became deeper and more venomous. "If you don't take action now, you won't have this chance anymore." Huangfu Qifei's expression didn't change as his lips curled upwards as he smiled warmly. "Patriarch Ren, on this mountain, everyone is my Huangfu family's men, and Patriarch Ren, you are alone." End of this chapter. Chapter 45-76. Ren Jianying's expression changed. "What do you mean?" Huangfu Qifei's smile didn't diminish in the slightest. "Patriarch Ren is extremely intelligent. How could you not understand what I mean?" "Huangfu Qifei, how ambitious of you. Ren Jianying stared at Huangfu Qifei with a mocking sneer on her gorgeous face. He seemed to be ridiculing Huangfu Qifei's audacity. Huangfu Qifei only thought that she was struggling on her deathbed. When it comes to ambition, we are about the same. Isn't everything we've done just to fulfill our ambitions? Ren Jianying raised her head slightly, revealing her fair neck. Do you think you can be my opponent? I might not be your match, but I am the one with the advantage in numbers. Huangfu Qifei walked slowly towards Ren Jianying. Patriarch Ren, if you're able to be obedient, then the cooperation between us can still continue. Ren Jianying did not avoid it. He stood there with a faint smile on his face. His face was filled with arrogance, as if expressing extreme disdain towards Huangfu Qifei's words. Third young master Huangfu, no matter what you do, don't be too absolute. It's good that you're confident, but sometimes, it can easily turn into conceit. Huangfu Qifei's footsteps slightly stopped on the spot. The two looked at each other. The space between the two seemed to be surging with some kind of turbulent waves. It was like a surging tide. Not far away, Qiao Jin glanced at Huangfu Dongyu. Why did you save him? If he's dead, he's dead. Yiqing Luo raised her lower lip. This third brother of yours is really conceited. He's not my brother. Qiao Jin's face turned cold, and he looked at Huangfu Qifei with disdain. He thinks that he is talented and strong, but in reality, he doesn't have anything worth showing off. Yiqing Luo laughed softly. So, leaving Huangfu Dongyu alive and letting them fight amongst themselves, isn't that better? She really didn't want to ridicule Huangfu Qifei. He could only say, there was a hole in Huangfu Qifei's brain. Under such circumstances, he actually still had the mood to cause internal strife. After fighting with Huangfu Dongyu, he went to fight with Ren Jianying. Did he really think of himself as a god? If it was her, even if he was ambitious, she wouldn't show it now. At the very least, they should have waited until they were united against the foreign enemies and dealt with the first wave of enemies before slowly starting their internal strife. Now, there was internal strife at the slightest disagreement. After they were done killing each other, she had already slipped away with a bunch of brothers, okay? There must be a hole in his brain. She spared Huangfu Dongyu's life. After Huangfu Dongyu found out about Huangfu Qifei's true identity, coupled with the thrilling escape from death just now, presumably, he would retaliate against Huangfu Qifei. And now, Huangfu Qifei courted death by arguing with Ren Jianying. Given Ren Jianying's personality, she would probably teach him a lesson at any moment. TSK, what a great show. They should just sit back and watch the crowd. Everything was as Yiqing Luo had expected. Ren Jianying was indeed teaching Huangfu Qifei how to behave in a matter of minutes. Huangfu Qifei's awe-inspiring display didn't last more than 3 seconds before he was already held between Ren Jianying's 5 fingers. A dagger slid across Huangfu Qifei's neck. It scared Huangfu Qifei so much that his face turned pale, totally unable to maintain his gentleness. Ren Jianying sneered as her lips curled up. Now, are you going to listen to me obediently or am I going to listen to you obediently? Huangfu Qifei's neck felt a piercing pain and he could feel blood oozing out. Chapter 45-77. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she spat out a word in disdain, coward. Huangfu Qifei's begging words came to a halt. His pale face was stained with a shade of red. It was a flush of embarrassment and anger. He stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. But he was restrained by Ren Jianying's hand. The show was pressed against his neck, there wasn't much deterrence. Ren Jianying didn't look at Yiqing Luo as she arrogantly curled her lips and looked at Huangfu Qifei, shaking her head. Not the Ren family, it's me, Ren Jianying. Huangfu Qifei's pupils shook violently. He naturally understood Ren Jianying's meaning. Not the Ren family. It was her, Ren Jianying. Which meant Ren Jianying's ambition was much bigger than what he had imagined. Ren Jianying wasn't doing this for the Ren family. She had a bigger target. Thinking of earlier, he had not even made a move and was already subdued by Ren Jianying. His heart skipped a beat. Yes, the Huangfu family will definitely follow eldest Missy Ren's lead. Huangfu Qifei was indeed an intelligent man. At this moment, he had made his choice very clearly. What ambition, what unyielding character. None of them were as important as his life. Ren Jianying wasn't afraid that Huangfu Qifei would betray her as she directly threw him aside. Casually, she threw the show onto the ground. The show was thrown on the ground. The gaze she shot towards Huangfu Qifei was filled with disdain. Do you know what to do? Huangfu Qifei held onto his bleeding neck as he stood up with a pale face. Yes. Huangfu Qifei held onto his bleeding neck as he stood up with a pale face. Yes. This time, he had no chance to retreat. He was utterly defeated. Huangfu Qifei took a deep breath. He turned his gaze towards the crowd, Yiqing Luo and the rest. He pursed his thin lips as he lifted his feet and walked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. He didn't know if it was an illusion. The moment he moved, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. It was as though a strange, indescribable smile had appeared on Ren Jianying's face. As though she was plotting something. Huangfu Qifei felt a chill down his spine. Looking at Yiqing Luo's direction, he suddenly felt as if he had stepped into the path of hell. Huangfu Dongyu. Suddenly, the girl opposite him shouted at the top of her lungs. Immediately, the noisy space quietened down. Huangfu Dongyu looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze. Yiqing Luo waved at him and pointed at Huangfu Qifei. The main culprit who wanted to kill you is right here. Don't you intend to take revenge? Everyone, it turned out that she had saved Huangfu Dongyu. Just to let Huangfu Dongyu restrain Huangfu Qifei. Alright, this move was indeed ruthless. It was indeed very practical. Because, after Yiqing Luo hauled out, Huangfu Dongyu sprinted over. He seemed as if he wanted to take Huangfu Qifei down with him. Yiqing Luo turned her head towards Qiao Jin and winked at him. See that, the reason why I saved him. Qiao Jin. Just say it directly if you're lazy, stop finding excuses. Yiqing Luo's fingertips brushed past the azure aqua ring on her hand. A wisp of red light shot out from her fingertip. The faint light encircled Yan Xiao Yi and the rest, and after one round. She curled her lips. I'm going to play with eldest Miss Ren, just take care of yourselves. She was just about to move. Long Yunzhan pulled her arm. That Ren Jianying doesn't look right, I'll go with you. The young man's expressionless face had a pair of azure blue eyes, but it was filled with concern. Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 45-78. She smiled and placed his hand into Tong Ziqing's. Just take good care of Ziqing, I am just going over to play. Saying that, she flew towards Ren Jianying's direction. But she discovered that Ren Jianying was speedily retreating backwards. The gaze which she shot towards her was filled with gloating over her misfortune. Ren Jianying's speed was extremely fast. In just a blink of an eye, she had already left this mountain. Her speed was so fast as though there was some kind of dreadful beast in this mountain. Yiqing Luo's footsteps paused. Her heart inexplicably surged with an ominous premonition. Thinking of earlier, Ren Jianying revealed a strange smile. Her heart thumped furiously. Not good. Everyone leave quickly. She shouted loudly as she turned her head back and shouted at the brothers behind her. Just as she turned around, Just a breath's time. Suddenly, a deafening roar resounded in his ears. Bam! Rumble. The earth quaked and the mountains shook violently, forming a huge whirlpool. The booming sound almost engulfed everyone on the mountain range. Huangfu family's men immediately cried out miserably. All of them wanted to avoid the earth quaking and the mountains shaking. But just as they were about to move, they were crushed to death by the huge rocks which swarmed downwards. Large pieces of gravel and rocks tumbled down with a crackling sound. This collapsing feeling was totally different from the feeling of falling into the array earlier. It was the surrounding space which had started to shatter. As though it could destroy the heaven and earth, a huge energy swept across the entire heaven and earth. Yiqing Luo's face turned slightly pale as she speedily released the god relic's energy to consolidate the barrier which she had set up for Yan Xiaoyi and the others. She stretched out her hand to pull Long Yun Zhan. Let's go first. This place had been a trap right from the start. Ren Jianying was planning to let all of them die here. First, she used the secluded palace's array to trap her and Dmo Xian in the array. Then she lured Huangfu Xing, Qiao Jin and the others to this mountain peak. When the right time was right, she would bury all of them in the mountain peak in one fell swoop. This was the forbidden art of space destruction. Ren Jianying wanted to destroy this place. If they continued to stay here, they would all be destroyed by these vortexes. He did not expect Ren Jianying to use such a sinister method. Yiqing Luo tugged on Long Yun Zhan's hand but was unable to move him. She frowned and looked at Long Yun Zhan. Ah, Zhan. She tugged at Long Yun Zhan again. However, Long Yun Zhan stood there stiffly, not moving at all. A pair of azure lake-like eyes stared at Yiqing Luo without blinking. There were ripples in his eyes, but it was impossible to see what he was feeling. Yiqing Luo felt a little strange but didn't think too much about it. He just passed Long Yun Zhan's hand to Tong Ziqing's. He then squinted his eyes and turned around to look at the sky full of flying sand, giant rocks rolling down, and the space being swallowed by the whirlpool. Ziqing, take Zhan and leave. Qing Luo, be careful. Before she could finish her sentence, he was interrupted by Tong Ziqing's hurried and frightened voice. Yiqing Luo acutely sensed a fierce murderous intent coming from her back. She frowned and quickly tried to dodge. Before he could turn his head, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. The sharp blade directly pierced into her body. She gave a dull moan, and as her 5 fingers moved, the glower flame fan opened up and speedily drew out a demonic profound ray, striking fiercely towards the direction where the murderous intent came from. However, when she turned around and saw the silhouette clearly, she was stunned. Her hand movements suddenly stopped. Her profound energy was also restrained. She looked at the person in front of her in disbelief. Chapter 45-79. A youth with black hair and blue eyes held a sharp long sword in his hand. On the blade of the sword, fresh blood dripped down drop by drop. He stood there, looking at her expressionlessly. Between his brows, there was an icy coldness. Yiqing Luo stopped her attack as her body swayed slightly. Blood seeped out of her shoulder. She felt a sharp pain when she moved, causing her facial features to wrinkle slightly. Leader. Tong Ziqing hugged Long Yun Zhan's arm, her eyes filled with disbelief. What are you doing? She saw it with her own eyes. At the instant when Yiqing Luo turned around, Long Yun Zhan picked up his weapon and stabbed towards her back. If it wasn't for the fact that Yiqing Luo managed to dodge in time, that sword would probably pierce through Yiqing Luo's heart. How could Long Yun Zhan possibly make a move on Yiqing Luo? What was going on? Tong Ziqing's mind was in a mess. She held Long Yun Zhan's hand tightly and shouted his name loudly. However, in the next instant, Long Yunjian just waved his arm expressionlessly. He threw Tong's Yiqing out. He brandished his long sword once again, chopping down horizontally towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's shoulders were still throbbing in pain. The deafening vibrations and the violent shaking continued. An endless whirlpool. It was already expanding. It was as if it was going to swallow everything in this space. She couldn't avoid it. He couldn't avoid it either. Yiqing Luo's breathing was tight, her pale face was dripping with sweat. Just as Long Yunjian's sword wave arrived, a warm and large palm clasped her shoulder. The next moment, her waist tightened. She was pulled into a warm embrace. That kind of warmth was different from Dmo Xian. However, it made her feel inexplicably at ease. In her ears, she could vaguely hear the man's deep voice, "This place is about to be devoured. Let's leave first." The dizziness from the blood loss made Yiqing Luo a little dizzy. She clutched the man's robe tightly and said with difficulty, "No. They. And them, I don't care so much." The man ignored Yiqing Luo's words. He picked up the person and flew away. By the time Yiqing Luo regained consciousness, she was in one of the darker rooms. The room was shabby and built with thatch. But the mattress she was sleeping on was of the best quality. Soft and comfortable. Yiqing Luo surveyed her surroundings and wanted to get up. However, the sharp pain from her shoulder caused her face to instantly turn pale. It was as if something was tearing at her flesh. What was going on? Yiqing Luo panted heavily as she laid back on the bed, not daring to move. She was not a delicate person. But this kind of pain, even she was somewhat unable to endure it, so one could imagine exactly how painful this kind of pain was. She closed her eyes and tried to calm herself down. Right now, she should have already left that mountain range. It was the man who suddenly appeared and took her away from there. But, what about her brothers? Yiqing Luo's breathing congealed as waves of dull pain came from her chest, making her unable to maintain her composure to think. Perhaps he heard the commotion in the room. The tightly shut door was pushed open. A ray of light spilled into the room. A long shadow was cast down. The elongated shadow happened to be imprinted on Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo slowly moved her head and shifted her gaze towards that side. She saw the man standing against the light. His tall and straight figure was dressed in a black robe and his face was handsome. That pair of eyes which didn't show any emotions faintly floated with light. Yiqing Luo's pupils shrank slightly. Chapter 4580. It's you. She opened her mouth, her voice was hoarse and a little painful. The man strode over, half squatted by the bedside, poured a cup of warm water and carefully fed it into her mouth. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she looked at him in a daze. Her throat swallowed the water spontaneously. A cup of warm water entered her stomach. Her throat finally cleared up a lot. She coughed, causing the wound on her shoulder to hurt. She stared intently at the man in front of her. "Why are you here?" "To save you." The man sat next to her and replied calmly. "What do you mean?" Yiqing Luo frowned. "You specially came to save me." How could he be so sure that she would be injured? And what's more, he coincidentally appeared here. Facing Yiqing Luo's suspicion, the man's expression didn't fluctuate. "I heard their plan in the secluded palace, so I rushed over." He paused. "I made it in time and saved you." Yiqing Luo's pink lips tightly pursed into a straight line. "After you brought me to the heaven realm, you threw your hands away and left. Now you dare to stand in front of me. You must feel that I'm injured now and can't do anything to you, right?" "Yes." The man in front of her was the one who brought her to the heaven realm. Bloodbone Barbaric King. Facing the Bloodbone Barbaric King, Yiqing Luo's feelings were very complicated. She didn't know what attitude she should use to face him. In the Earth realm, she and the Bloodbone Barbaric King could be considered as enemies. After all, he was the mastermind behind the Linglong Palace. And without any explanation, he kidnapped her to the Heaven Realm. Although, after knowing her real identity, he had never had any thoughts of hurting her. Plus, later on, she knew the deepest secret in his memory. Knew that he had such deep feelings for the Emperor of God Emperors, which was also her biological mother. Knew that in order to protect her in Feng Ji's womb, he had sacrificed everything. Knew that he had risked his life to protect her, until he was sealed. And still wanted to protect her. Yiqing Luo really couldn't hate the Bloodbone Barbaric King, nor could she blame him. I have something urgent to deal with, the Bloodbone Barbaric King explained dryly. Yiqing Luo sneered, in a hurry to deal with me with the secluded palace. No. The Barbaric Bloodbone King shook his head. After meeting Yiqing Luo's burning gaze, he slowly shifted his vision away. As though he was looking at Yiqing Luo's face. He would recall the shadow of the person buried in the deepest part of his memory. The palace of gloomy darkness lied to me. He pursed his lips, lowered his head, and apologized, I'm sorry. Because of me, you told the palace of darkness the secret of your divine phoenix profound heart jade and the secret that Feng Ge left on you. If it weren't for him, the entire heaven realm would not treat Yiqing Luo as a prey. Yiqing Luo wouldn't have met with such a situation. I can understand that you know the secret of the divine phoenix profound heart jade, but why do you say, the clue to my mother's grave is with me? Yiqing Luo had always been puzzled by this question. The barbaric Bloodbone King raised his eyebrows slightly, you still don't know? Yiqing Luo expressed her doubts. The barbaric Bloodbone King's eyes darkened and he asked tentatively, have you ever seen a piece of skin that looks like paper with a very complicated topographic map drawn on it? Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes and was even more puzzled, what topographic map? The barbaric Bloodbone King looked at Yiqing Luo for some time and shook his head, nothing, I misunderstood. He lowered his brows slightly, but I'm afraid the entire upper realm will not believe that you don't know about the so-called profound flame Tianshu diagram. Chapter 4581. It was indeed the Tianshu map. Yiqing Luo's heart skipped a beat. But she didn't show any unusual expression on her face. Even if she knew the barbaric Blood King's feelings for Feng Ge. She also believed that the barbaric Blood King had no ill intentions towards her. But the Tianshu map was related to too many complicated things. Ah Xian had said this before. No matter who it was, they had to keep the secret of the Tianshu map. Even if it was the barbaric Blood King, she didn't intend to say it out. But, what she didn't expect was that her mother from Three Springs sect left her the map that Yi Tianquang had been longing for. It was the topographic map of the Divine Emperor's tomb. No wonder she and Old Man Tsang felt that the map was too complicated. How could the map of the Divine Emperor's tomb not be complicated? Her mind was in turmoil. Yiqing Luo's face was filled with confusion. What is the Tianshu map? That is the map to the Divine Emperor's tomb, and also an analysis of the interior of the tomb. The barbaric Blood King explained, I thought that Feng Ge would have arranged everything before she passed away. Mother has already passed away for tens of thousands of years, why are there still so many people who want to find the whereabouts of the Divine Emperor's tomb? Yiqing Luo's eyes were deep. If the people in the heaven realm were interested in this, it could be explained by the fact that there were countless treasures buried with the Divine Emperor in the tomb of the Divine Emperor. But why would the person behind the Nether Palace be interested in the Divine Emperor's tomb? Based on the strength of the person behind the Nether Palace. To be able to stir up a bloodbath in all the major realms and still remain unscathed, that was enough to show that person's strength. Why did they have to scheme against her? They wanted the Divine Phoenix profound heart jade in her body and wanted to know the whereabouts of the Divine Emperor's tomb. Alright, you don't need to think too much about these things. The barbaric Blood King interrupted Yi Qing Luo's deep thoughts. The most important thing for you now is to heal your injuries, lest they spread and turn you into a puppet. Yi Qing Luo gathered her thoughts and was stunned when she heard the barbaric Blood King's words, my injuries. What happened? What do you mean by turning me into a puppet? I don't know what the Dark Palace did to the weapon that injured you, but they followed the weapon and entered your body, trying to take control of your body. The Bloodbone Barbaric King's gaze fell on her bandaged shoulder. This thing is similar to a goo worm, but it is not a living goo. No wonder, even now, she would convulse in pain whenever she moved. Tampering, take control of her body, damn it, it sounded like the style of the Dark Palace. That kind of rat hiding in the dark only knew how to play this kind of trick. Ah Jean, she thought of the expressionless Long Yun Jean stabbing the sword into her shoulder. Yi Qing Luo felt a dull pain in her heart. She really couldn't tell if Long Yun Jean had done such a thing because he was being controlled by the Dark Palace, or was it because that was what he wanted? Because it was on Long Yun Jean. She did not sense any aura of the Dark Nether Palace. His emotionless eyes did not have the dullness and lifelessness of being controlled by the Palace of Darkness. She even saw Long Yun Jean's thin lips curling up slightly. She clenched her fingers. Then my injury, can it be healed? I don't know. The barbaric Blood King was very honest. This god can only temporarily suppress that evil qi and the speed of its growth. As for the real solution, I'm not sure yet. Yi Qing Luo. Could it be that she could only choose to wait for death? This god is unable to bring you to seek a doctor, so we can only slowly explore. The barbaric Blood King said. 11. Chapter 4582. Now everyone in the upper realm had treated Yi Qing Luo as a piece of delicious meat. If they knew her whereabouts, wouldn't they flatten this thatched cottage? Her injury. How was she going to recover? Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips tightly and asked again, how long have I slept here? Not long, 2 days. Bloodbone Barbaric King replied, such a serious injury, you're considered to have woken up early. Yi Qing Luo's face turned slightly pale, then. After you saved me, did you return to look for my brothers? Bloodbone Barbaric King shook his head, no, when I brought you away, that place was already on the verge of collapsing. If we were any later, we would have been swallowed by the whirlpool inside. Yi Qing Luo abruptly sat up from the bed. The sharp pain in her shoulder made her face scrunch up tightly because of the pain. She gritted her teeth to bear with the pain and got down from the bed. They won't be swallowed. I want to go back. Don't be rash. Bloodbone Barbaric King stretched out his hand to stop her from moving. The wound on her shoulder and the sharp pain of something cutting her flesh made Yi Qing Luo unable to avoid Bloodbone Barbaric King's obstruction. Bloodbone Barbaric King pressed her back onto the bed as his face turned slightly cold. Even if you go like this, what can you do? Will they be safe and sound? Yi Qing Luo bit her lips tightly as her face turned slightly pale. Her long and narrow eyes seemed to be filled with ice. Bloodbone Barbaric King remained unmoved as he continued to reason with her. Do you know the situation you're in now? Based on your understanding of the secluded palace, don't tell me you can't guess. Based on their understanding of you, they know that you care about your brothers. Once you return to that place, what awaits you is an inescapable trap. Based on your current state, do you think you can still turn danger into safety? Bloodbone Barbaric King's handsome face became more and more solemn. The 5 fingers which were pressing on Yi Qing Luo's arm tightened. Qing Luo, you're not so lucky every time. Gu was willing to use his entire life's energy in exchange for a lifetime of peace for you to survive, not for you to squander it like this. When mentioning Gu, Bloodbone Barbaric King's face seemed to be struggling slightly, as though he was restraining his own pain. If I can save him, I will. Do you understand? The man's hoarse voice trembled slightly. Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted slightly. His grip on her arm was very heavy. But it wasn't particularly painful. She could feel his emotions from his trembling fingertips. Yiqing Luo's eyes gradually sunk. There wasn't much light in her eyes. It was very bleak. Her whole body also weakly collapsed on the bed. The barbaric Bloodbone King seemed to have suddenly regained his senses as he hurriedly let go of her arms and straightened his body. I just don't want you to do anything wrong. Your life was exchanged with Feng Ji's life. Yiqing Luo lay on the bed in a daze. His eyes were wide open. He just stared at the thatched roof. The Bloodbone Barbarian King opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But when he was about to say it, he pursed his lips. He did not speak again. He sat quietly on the edge of the bed. He knew that based on Yiqing Luo's character, she would definitely not be able to accept this fact in a short period of time. But it had already happened. No matter how hard she tried, there was no way to change the truth. What's more, her current injury still had no way to resolve it. Suddenly, Yiqing Luo's slightly hoarse voice spoke faintly, Don't you hate my mother? Bloodbone Barbaric King had suffered so much pain and had fallen to such a state. It was all because of that Gu, wasn't it? Chapter 4583. He still remembered the first time he met the Bloodbone Barbaric King. Dmo Xian exposed his identity. When he mentioned Gu, his mouth was calling her a slut. But now, there was a change in his attitude. Bloodbone Barbaric King's body stiffened slightly as he lowered his eyelids and pursed his lips. No. Is it because you've finally come to your senses and know that you've misunderstood her? Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a cold arc. Bloodbone Barbaric King was stunned. You know about it. I've seen your memories, what else do I not know? Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at him, her eyes filled with ridicule. Bloodbone Barbaric King didn't reply. Yes, it was until later when Yiqing Luo opened his memories. The memory that had been sealed for 10,000 years resurfaced in his mind. He then knew how stupid he was back then. He should have believed Gu. Since he loved Gu so deeply, why would he suspect her in the end? That Gu who said she knew that he had cultivated the forbidden technique to protect her and pretended not to know, was not Gu at all. The real Gu. How could she possibly do that to him? That Gu who tried to snatch the child and tried to kill him. Not Gu at all. The real Gu loved her child so deeply that she could even sacrifice herself, so how could she possibly say that it was the child's divine phoenix profound heart jade? And how would she know that the child was in his arms? And even dealt a vicious hand to him, totally disregarding the child's safety. He was really stupid. So stupid that he only realized now that something was wrong. That Gu was a fake Gu. The motive was to get Feng Ji's child. Which was Yiqing Luo. Because my life was exchanged with my mother's life, so. That's why you tried your best to keep me alive, right? Yiqing Luo's gaze returned to the thatched roof. Bloodbone Barbaric King responded with a soft N. He immediately reacted to Yiqing Luo's words. Are you trying to tell me that I want you to live, and you want your group of brothers to live, is the same? Yiqing Luo struggled to raise her hand. On his finger, the totem of a phoenix spreading its wings faintly flowed. Ah, Xian must be looking for me. Bring me along and follow the profound phoenix ring senses to look for him. Yiqing Luo said word by word. In her current state, it was indeed not suitable to fight head-on with the palace of gloomy darkness. With Ah Xian by her side, only then could she feel at ease. The barbaric blood-bone king looked at the profound phoenix ring and then at Yiqing Luo. After a long time, he finally said, "All right." Under Yiqing Luo's urging, barbaric blood king carried the person up and placed him into Chi-Chi's soft fur. While he was moving, the wound on his shoulder affected his entire body, causing him to feel a tearing pain. She held it in and leaned against Chi-Chi's back. At this moment, the barbaric blood-bone king's expression froze. He looked at a spot in the dense forest in front of him with a cold expression. "Who's there?" When Yiqing Luo heard that, her heart skipped a beat. He tilted his head slightly and looked in the direction of the blood-bone barbaric king. Barbaric blood-bone king stood in front of Yiqing Luo with a vigilant expression. Very quickly, a figure slowly walked out from that spot. That person was dressed in a green robe, his hair was combed neatly, and his entire body was filled with an elegant and refined temperament. Especially that pair of eyes which looked towards Yiqing Luo, was like glass, dazzling and dazzling. He stood there with a gentle expression. His lips curled into a smile. Like a spring breeze. As if it was emitted from his bones. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. Chapter 4584. When Yiqing Luo saw that person, the expression on his face froze and his face turned cold. "What are you doing here? I was worried about you." The man's eyes gazed at Yiqing Luo in a daze, as there seemed to be some kind of tender and affectionate emotions rippling beneath his eyes. Towards his words, Yiqing Luo didn't have any reaction at all. Instead she frowned. "How did you know I was here?" "I know, it was Bone Lord who saved you." That man's gaze shot towards Blood-Bone Barbaric King and shifted onto Yiqing Luo. "I knew he would hide you here, so I'm here." Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as a cold glint flashed beneath her eyes, not showing much emotion. When the barbaric Blood-Bone King saw that person, his face was full of astonishment. "How do you know about this place?" "Sorry." The man pursed his thin lips and apologized in a low voice. "Master had asked me to follow you before. I realized that whenever you're in a bad mood, you'll come here alone." The barbaric Blood-Bone King's face darkened. "From the beginning, that person from the Palace of Darkness has been on guard against me." He didn't even notice that he was being followed. Yiqing Luo snorted coldly as her brows were filled with faint ridicule. "Gu Jingyu, you're indeed a loyal dog. That dark rat asked you to follow him, so you followed him." The man in front of him, wasn't he the Nirvana realm, the young sect master of the Valley of Wind, the palace master of the Dark Palace? Gu Jingyu. Gu Jingyu appeared here. This also meant that the Palace of Darkness already knew of her whereabouts. Hearing Yiqing Luo's ridicule, Gu Jingyu's brows creased slightly. He gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo's face. His eyes seemed to be filled with the most sincere emotions in the world. "Yiqing Luo, this time, I'm specially here for you," Gu Jingyu said warmly. His gentle and elegant smile seemed to be immersed in the warm sun. Yiqing Luo sneered. "Does your master want to teach you what it means to take advantage of my illness to take my life?" "Master didn't ask me to come." Gu Jingyu hurriedly explained. "Master doesn't know I'm here." Yiqing Luo only sneered and didn't even have the desire to reply. Obviously, he didn't believe it. As for Gu Jingyu, she did not trust him at all. "I'm telling the truth." Gu Jingyu pursed his lips, his face full of hurt. "Master, he is in closed-door training. Now I'm in charge of the Anyo Palace. I've confirmed that Master is really in closed-door training. That's why I'm here to find you." Yiqing Luo's half-closed eyes suddenly opened. She raised her eyebrows and looked at Gu Jingyu suspiciously. Seclusion. Why are you in seclusion? The person behind the scenes of Abyss Palace, why would he go into seclusion at this time? This. Gu Jingyu hesitated. For him. After all, his master was his master. He was also one of master's men. He liked Yiqing Luo, but that didn't mean that he could betray his master calmly. He licked his lips a few times, lowered his eyes and said, I can't say, but I can assure you, what I said is all true. What guarantee do you have? Yiqing Luo's gaze was fixed on Gu Jingyu's face, watching his every change of mood. Gu Jingyu was stumped by the question as his mouth opened, and after moving for some time, he muttered, What do you want me to use to guarantee? Anyo Palace. Yiqing Luo's lips curled. I want you to use Anyo Palace as a guarantee. Gu Jingyu's expression changed slightly as a sliver of helplessness flashed past his gentle eyes. This Anyo Palace isn't mine. I'm unable to use Anyo Palace as a guarantee. You said it yourself, your master has already gone into closed-door training. Yiqing Luo gave a teasing smile. Remember, this god stands on website, to prevent from losing. Chapter 4585. Gu Jingyu's expression sunk slightly and the gaze he shot at Yiqing Luo turned deep and complicated. Yiqing Luo, you can use my life as a guarantee, but I can't use my master's painstaking effort as a guarantee. Speaking in such a righteous manner, then why are you standing here? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly and the emotions in her eyes were cold. Gu Jingyu, if you're really that loyal to your master, then you shouldn't appear in front of me. I can't help it. I can't control myself. Gu Jingyu's gentle brows faintly revealed a trace of viciousness. As though he was forced to face this problem by Yiqing Luo's words. He wanted to get close to Yiqing Luo. But he was warned by Chi-Chi's low growl, stopping his footsteps. He stood on the original spot, staring at Yiqing Luo without blinking. Suddenly, he hugged his head and squatted down in pain. I don't want to appear. But I can't control myself, Yiqing Luo. You don't understand, what kind of feelings do I use to treat you? I originally wanted to be a stranger to you, you're right. We're destined to be enemies. We're destined to be enemies. I also want to be as cold and heartless as you treat me. But I can't do it. I can't do it. The minute I heard that you're injured and heard that you're here, Master specially concocted the profound fragrance for you. I couldn't control myself, I want to see you. Want to see you safe and sound. The man's voice was hoarse, filled with despair. It wasn't a confession of love so deep that it was pink. But a confession of despair which made one at a loss and helpless. Listening to Gu Jingyu's hoarse and despairing accusations, the air was filled with silence for several breaths. After some time, Yiqing Luo's curly long and thick lashes moved slightly. Her pink lips pursed before she slowly opened her mouth, Gu Jingyu. Her 3 words made the man's heart instantly lifted up. As though he was waiting to be sentenced to death. That kind of anxiety, but also despair. I'm very grateful for your feelings towards me. Yiqing Luo knew Gu Jingyu's feelings towards her, but she didn't expect it to be so deep. She closed her eyes. You know very well that I won't like you. Don't waste the time and opportunities that you should have on me. It's hard to have the best of both worlds. Since you've chosen to stand on your master's side, you should control your feelings. On one hand, you help your master and do things that hurt me, but on the other hand, you sincerely express your feelings to me. I really don't know how to view your feelings. Gu Jingyu clenched his fists. How would he not know what Yiqing Luo said? But, so what if he knew? He knew it better than anyone else. You shouldn't try to have it both ways. At the same time, he was fulfilling his feelings. At the same time, he fulfilled his loyalty. But, secluded palace and Yiqing Luo. How could they possibly exist in peace? If possible. He really didn't wish that he would have such deep feelings towards Yiqing Luo. You can leave. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath. I believe what you're saying now, but I don't need your help. From start to finish. She was observing Gu Jingyu's expression. From Gu Jingyu's subtle expressions and reactions. She trusted Gu Jingyu. The person behind the scenes in Nether Palace. Should have really gone into closed-door cultivation. Of course, there was a possibility that the person behind the scenes in Nether Palace had also cheated Gu Jingyu. Gu Jingyu's expression changed slightly, as though he hadn't expected Yiqing Luo to chase him away. I can save you. What you have on you is the profoundine fragrance, and if you don't expel it from your body in time, you will become Master's puppet. Dear, this chapter has ended. I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4586. I got it. Yiqing Luo's expression was still indifferent as there wasn't any change in her emotions, but, I don't need you to save me. Gu Jingyu's body stiffened as he stood there in a daze. His eyes stared at Yiqing Luo without blinking as his chest seemed to be churning with raging waves. Leave. As though she hadn't noticed the change in the man's emotions, Yiqing Luo continued to speak coldly. You hate me that much? So hateful that you don't even want me to save you. Gu Jingyu's voice was trembling slightly. If one looked closely, one could tell that his body was trembling. Yiqing Luo didn't look at him as she replied indifferently, I just don't need it. Not hateful. Just don't need it. Gu Jingyu's expression faded as his fingers clenched into a fist. He raised his head as he clenched his fists tightly. The warmth in his eyes was no longer there. What replaced it was a patch of darkness. His body stiffened as step by step, he slowly turned around and walked towards the dense forest which he came from. His footsteps were shaky as he walked step by step, as though it was extremely strenuous. As though he was stepping on a sharp blade. Slowly, he entered the dense forest, disappearing in front of the two of them. Yiqing Luo didn't even glance towards Gu Jingyu's direction as she said indifferently, let's go. Her fingertips gently stroked the profound phoenix ring. Bloodbone barbaric king who had been silent looked at the direction where the man left and retracted his gaze. He can save you, why did you reject him? Yiqing Luo shut her eyes and didn't say a word. Bloodbone barbaric king frowned, the injury on your body, even this god can't do anything about it. The longer this drags on, the more damage it will cause to you. This god can tell that although the palace lord of secluded palace is on the opposite side of you, but his feelings towards you are extremely sincere. He said he can save you, so it shouldn't be a lie. I know. Yiqing Luo's voice was very indifferent, I know he didn't lie and I know he sincerely wants to save me. Then why don't you let him save you? Do you know that if this drags on, your body will be completely controlled by that mysterious strange energy, and then it will start to control you. At that time, if I don't kill you, then your beloved man will kill you. Only then will he be able to stop you from doing anything wrong. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she slowly opened her eyes. Her long and narrow eyes overflowed with a faint light. Very dark, very deep. It's precisely because I know that I can't let him save me. We are destined to be enemies. The more he cares about me, the more he'll push himself to the point of no return. The person behind the scenes of Gloomy Palace is not a good person. Tolerating him time and time again, there will come a time when he explodes. Also, I don't want to owe him anything anymore. So, I don't need him to save me. The young girl's cold voice was like a bone-piercing chill. Bit by bit, it tainted the surrounding air. It was as if everything in the surroundings had been frozen by frost. The blood-bone barbarian king's eyes flickered as he sneered, "You're quite considerate of him. It's not for his sake." Yiqing Luo's tone was calm, "I just don't want to get involved with other relationships." The blood-bone barbarian king only smiled. Then he patted his sleeves, "Since you've already decided, I'll follow your wishes. Now, let's go." Yiqing Luo closed her eyes again. Only. There was a long silence. She still didn't sense that Chi didn't move. Nor did she hear the blood-bone barbarian king's footsteps. End of this chapter. Chapter 4587. Yiqing Luo called out to blood-bone barbaric king in puzzlement. But there was no response. She frowned and opened her eyes again. Blood-bone barbaric king stood by her side, looking straight ahead without blinking. He probably sensed that Yiqing Luo had opened her eyes. He indicated for Yiqing Luo to look ahead. Yiqing Luo looked over. She saw a figure standing in front of Chi. Chi bared its teeth, but it wasn't too fierce. Yiqing Luo stared at that person and frowned slightly. "Why are you back again?" The person in front of her was Gu Jingyu, who had left earlier. Gu Jingyu didn't say a word as his gentle glass-like eyes gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo. The expression on his face was as gentle as jade. His thin lips curled up slightly, containing a gentle smile. As though he didn't care about Yiqing Luo's attitude. Yiqing Luo felt uncomfortable being stared at, and the expression on her face was impatient. "Gu Jingyu, I've said this before, I don't need your help, please leave." Gu Jingyu slowly walked towards her. Chi bared its teeth and wanted to stop him. But it thought that this man was the only one who could save its master. Selfishly, it didn't want to stop him. While it was in a dilemma, Gu Jingyu was already standing next to Yiqing Luo. Blood-bone barbaric king's eyes locked onto him. In case he suddenly made a move. Yiqing Luo laid on Chi-Chi's back, facing Gu Jingyu. "What is your motive?" Gu Jingyu's lips curled. "I want to save you." "I said, I don't need it." Yiqing Luo rejected without hesitation. Gu Jingyu lowered his eyelids, his thick eyelashes covered the emotions in his eyes. He said word by word, "I heard everything you said just now." Yiqing Luo was stunned. He was referring to what she and Bloodbone Barbaric King had said earlier. So what if he heard it? She wasn't willing to let him save her. She wasn't willing. "But, I want to save you." Gu Jingyu's deep voice revealed a trace of hoarseness. "Yiqing Luo, I saved you, not because I want you to owe me anything." He closed his eyes. "Let's make a deal." Yiqing Luo's eyes darkened. "I refuse. This time, I will save you." Gu Jingyu ignored her refusal. "After saving you, from now on, when we meet again, we will be strangers." When Yiqing Luo heard that, her expression froze for a moment. She looked at Gu Jingyu in confusion. "What do you mean?" "You are right. We are destined to be enemies. It is also time for me to let you go." Gu Jingyu was still smiling warmly. But that smile, his tone was filled with bitterness. He endured the pain and continued, "My deal is, you agree to let me save you, and we'll settle this." To save her. Come to settle things. What kind of brain circuit was this? Yiqing Luo expressed that she didn't quite understand. Gu Jingyu pursed his lips tightly, as he paused every word, as though he was declaring his determination for Yiqing Luo to hear, and also for himself to hear, "After saving you. The next time we meet, I will not feel any pity for you. So, after I save you, the next time we meet. Don't believe anything I say." Everything I do will be based on my master's standpoint. Between you and me, there will be no more friendship. When Yiqing Luo heard what he said, she somehow felt that something was amiss. As though he was saying his last words. Her slender brows creased even tighter. Gu Jingyu, I said this before, I don't need you to save me. Don't need me to save you means you don't want to sever all ties with me, right? Gu Jingyu's eyes shone. Chapter 4588. Happy New Year automatically refresh at 6 in the morning. Pei Xing slowly lowered his head, his face filled with pain and confusion. Seeing that he did not reply, Yiqing Luo curled her lips into a smile. However, there was a hint of mockery in his laughter. Why don't I give you an idea? Although he felt that Yiqing Luo's laughter was a little strange, there was also an inexplicable pain in his heart. But hearing Yiqing Luo's words, Pei Xing swiftly raised his head and looked at Yiqing Luo. The moment he raised his head, he met with Yiqing Luo's smiling yet not smiling eyes. That pair of eyes that were as deep as the abyss were very black. It was the kind of extreme darkness. Her eyes were obviously seductive and seductive. However, it made people tremble with respect and fear. Why don't you just throw away the mess that is treasure gathering and just walk away from it? Anyway, you're going to the heaven realm, so it doesn't matter what happens here, right? These people came here because you're a branch family member of the Huangfu clan. Even if you leave with the Huangfu clan and leave this mess behind, I'm sure they won't blame you. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, she propped up her chin as she looked at him with her curved eyes. There was a smile on his face. However, Pei Xing could sense the coldness in that smile. The two customers who were registering at the side, can't you be more considerate of them? They were still there. Was it really a good idea to reveal the purpose of their visit like there was no one else around? No. No way. He almost blurted it out. Pei Xing widened his eyes and shook his head forcefully. Absolutely not. The treasures exchange hall was his father's blood, sweat and tears. 5 years ago, because of the framing of Zhongqing trading firm, his father had ruined the reputation of Zhu Bao. Now, treasure gathering has finally returned to everyone's line of sight. I absolutely cannot let treasure gathering's reputation be tarnished. Leave the mess behind and walk away. How could he do it? Yiqing Luo smiled. This time, there was a different gentleness to her smile. She was still holding her chin. He was in the same position as before. It was just that the aura emitted from his body was slightly restrained. Since you feel that this method is not feasible, then, what are you going to do? Yiqing Luo asked with a smile. Pei Xing fell silent again. Yiqing Luo didn't urge him to reply at all. A moment later, in this strange atmosphere, Pei Xing moved his mouth and softly spat out a few words. I will stay in the land. Yiqing Luo raised her brows and continued to smile, no regrets. Pei Xing wanted to say that he didn't regret it. But when the words reached his mouth, it was as if something was stuck in his throat, and he couldn't spit them out no matter what. Don't you regret it? He didn't know. He really didn't know. Yiqing Luo laughed out loud at this moment. The hand she used to support her chin had already changed to the back of her hand to support her temples, looking very lazy. You don't answer, but you already have the answer in your heart, don't you? Yiqing Luo's straightforwardness made Pei Xing's face turn slightly pale. He clenched his fists tightly, opening and closing them again. Yiqing Luo brushed a strand of hair which was hanging by the side of her ear as she laughed softly. Since you already have a decision in your heart, then you should be clear on what you want to do next. Chapter 4589. The wound on the young lady's shoulder had started to fester. A patch of black festering skin formed a sharp contrast with the fair skin beside. The most horrifying thing was, it was the festering wound. Strips of thread-like, worm-like things meandered around, twisting and twisting. Constantly twisting around that large patch of wound. It was extremely ghastly. Every time that thing twisted and twisted, it would twist and twist. It made the young lady suck in a breath of cold air. Her body was trembling. Bloodbone Barbaric King took a look at Yiqing Luo and then looked at Gu Jingyu, following that. His arm moved. A gravitational force landed on Yiqing Luo's neck. You! Gu Jingyu's pupils contracted as he subconsciously stretched out his hand to block it. Bloodbone Barbaric King was sure that Yiqing Luo had really fainted before he spoke calmly. She's an alchemist, medication won't have any effect on her. Gu Jingyu swallowed back the words he was about to say. It wasn't hard to see the worry in his eyes towards Yiqing Luo. Bloodbone Barbaric King didn't beat around the bush. Can you really save her? I can. Gu Jingyu nodded his head confidently. But if one listened carefully, one would be able to hear the slight tremble in his voice. Her wound has already worsened. We must act as soon as possible to expel the profound fragrance. Bloodbone Barbaric King pursed his thin lips slightly as he stared at Gu Jingyu quietly. On what basis do I believe you? Her injury can't wait any longer. Gu Jingyu revealed an anxious look. Generally speaking, after the profound fragrance enters the body, it needs at least 7 days of incubation before it starts to act. In the initial stage, the profound fragrance will spread to the injured person's internal organs, injecting the active profound fragrance. In the final stage, the wound will start to fester, and this is the final stage of the profound fragrance. In the final stage, the injured person will be controlled by the profound fragrance, and will lose all self-consciousness. Gu Jingyu pointed at the silk thread thing on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. This is the profound fragrance. Bloodbone Barbaric King's face sunk slightly. It's only been 2 days. Why has the profound fragrance reached the final stage? I'm not too sure about this. Bloodbone Barbaric King shook his head. Now we have to hurry. Once it reaches the final stage, even I can't do anything. The Barbaric Bloodbone King fell silent. Towards Gu Jingyu's feelings towards Yiqing Luo. As an experienced person, he could see it very clearly. However, who could be sure that his method would work? Gu Jingyu glanced at the Barbaric Bloodbone King. Without waiting for the Barbaric Bloodbone King's reply, he stood up and sat on the side of the bed. 2 hands had already pressed onto Yiqing Luo's shoulders, the 2 sides of her clothes which had been cut open. The Barbaric Bloodbone King wanted to stop him. However, the hand that was stretched out in mid-air paused. In the end, he took it back. While Yiqing Luo was in a daze, she only felt that the wound on her shoulder was sometimes burning with pain, and sometimes it felt like she was being irrigated by ice. It was itchy and painful. That kind of piercing itch seemed to come from the bones. She wanted to scratch it, but she couldn't feel the exact spot. His whole body was itching uncomfortably. Waves of bone-piercing pain came from the wound again. Yiqing Luo couldn't bear it any longer as she cried out. She opened her eyes in a daze and saw the gentle and graceful young master beside her bed. However, the man's complexion was pale, and his brows were filled with fatigue. There wasn't any color of blood on his thin lips. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly, as her breathing stagnated. She wanted to open her mouth, but her voice was hoarse and stinging, so she couldn't say anything. Dear, this chapter has ended. I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4590. The man revealed a smile on his face when he saw her opening her eyes. He half squatted down and got close to Yiqing Luo's pupils. The tiredness on his face was dispelled by the smile. Yi-Ching Luo, you're awake. When he opened his mouth, his voice was slightly hoarse. His tone was filled with unconcealable joy. His hand was placed gently on Yi-Ching Luo's shoulder as he asked warmly, "You're wound, is it still painful?" The man in front of her was Gu Jingyu. Yi-Ching Luo wanted to speak, but her throat was dry and she couldn't make any sound. Gu Jingyu smiled, "You're now in the process of expelling the profounding fragrance and it might make you lose your voice for a period of time. After the profounding fragrance is expelled, you'll be able to speak again." Yi-Ching Luo's eyelashes trembled slightly as she nodded, indicating that she understood. The smile on Gu Jingyu's face deepened as he asked again, "Is the wound still painful? You have to tell me at all times how you feel now." Yi-Ching Luo pursed her pink lips and didn't reply him. Instead she raised her eyes and met his eyes. The look in her eyes was very cold. No words. Gu Jingyu could tell what she was trying to express. "I said before, I don't need you to save me." The expression on his face only dimmed for a moment and very quickly he raised his smile, "Then just treat it as I'm forcing you. You don't need to have any psychological burden." Yi-Ching Luo's eyes sunk even deeper. Gu Jingyu looked at her deeply as he smiled, "I know you won't have any psychological burden. It's just that I simply wanted to save you. Now that I've already saved you, no matter how angry you are, you can't change the truth so you can only accept it." Yi-Ching Luo's eyes sunk as she looked at him for some time before shifting her gaze away, too lazy to look at him. Gu Jingyu sat by the bedside as his face was filled with a warm smile. "In less than 3 days, the profounding fragrance in your body will be completely expelled and it won't affect your body at all." Yi-Ching Luo still didn't look at him. Gu Jingyu didn't mind. He just sat by her side as he rambled on. He could keep on talking. He didn't care if Yi-Ching Luo gave him a response. As long as Yi-Ching Luo was by his side, he would feel extremely satisfied. Until Gu Jingyu spoke alone for about an hour. Yi-Ching Luo then moved slightly. Her line of sight looked around. However, it didn't land on Gu Jingyu. "Bone King is trying to find out the news of Venerable Sovereign, and he's trying to find out if your brothers are still alive," Gu Jingyu answered, seeing that she was looking for someone. Hearing his words, Yi-Ching Luo's gaze was fixed in front for some time. Only then did she slowly shift her gaze back to his face. The girl's eyelashes fluttered gently like butterfly wings. His eyes seemed to be flowing with rippling brilliance. Gu Jingyu's eyes were filled with the young girl's beautiful face. Even if the girl didn't put on any makeup and looked sick. However, it still seemed to be able to drill into the depths of his heart. This time, Gu Jingyu was the first to look away. He shifted his gaze away and looked unnaturally towards the front as he pursed his lips and asked, "Yi-Ching Luo, the words that I said earlier, are all serious? After today, you and I have nothing to do with each other. If we meet again, I hope you can forget what happened today. How you treated me in the past, treat me the way you treated me in the future." Yi-Ching Luo knitted her brows tightly. Not knowing why, she felt that his words had some deep meaning. But she couldn't tell what he was trying to express. "Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading." Big smiley face. Chapter 4591. Perhaps he sensed the young lady's puzzled gaze. He suddenly regained his senses and when he turned his head to look at Yi-Ching Luo, his lips revealed his signature warm smile. "I am thinking to really let go of you. If your gaze lingers on me for just a moment more, I will feel that I still have a chance." He smiled. His smile turned bitter. "If in future, you don't wish to be pestered by someone like me, then just be as heartless as now, don't give me any hope." Yiqing Luo's eyes flickered slightly. She opened her mouth wanting to say something. But Gu Jingyu's hand was pressed against her lips. Don't speak, it will affect your body. He spoke in a gentle voice. Yiqing Luo nodded. Gu Jingyu looked at her quietly for a moment. The hand which was pressed against his lips took some time before he slowly retracted it. When his fingers were placed back on his knees, his eyes dimmed by quite a bit. The next 2 days, it had always been Gu Jingyu by her side, taking care of her. Yiqing Luo's wound, which was itchy and painful from time to time, was only left with itchiness. In the end, she couldn't feel any sensation from her wound. Her throat slowly started to emit a slight airflow sound. She could also get off the bed and take 2 steps. Savage Blood Bone King would return roughly 2 to 3 times a day. Every time he took a look at Yiqing Luo's condition, he would leave in a hurry. Every time she saw Savage Blood Bone King, Yiqing Luo would use a hopeful gaze to look over. But Savage Blood Bone King had never given her an answer. No answer meant that there was no result. Yiqing Luo was feeling apprehensive, but she also understood. Right now, no result was the best result. At least, there was no evidence to prove that her brothers had all died in that stretch of mountain range. Thinking about those people in the world group again. Gu Jingyu carried a bowl of black medicinal liquid as he walked to the wooden chair beside Yiqing Luo's bed. As he sat down, Yiqing Luo received the medicine. The pungent medicinal liquid was extremely unpleasant. Even Yiqing Luo couldn't smell out what was the composition of this medicinal liquid. She drank the medicinal liquid expressionlessly. Gu Jingyu took the empty medicine bowl, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This is the last bowl of medicine. The rest depends on your physique. Maybe the xianing fragrance will be exhausted, or maybe it will be tomorrow. Yiqing Luo nodded her head as she looked at the man in front of her, that extremely warm smile on his face. Her pink lips moved slightly. Thank you. The sound of air drifted over so lightly that it was almost inaudible. Gu Jingyu's movements paused, and his smile grew warmer. This is something I am willing to do. There is no need for you to thank me. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped as she turned sideways and leaned against the headboard. The wound on her shoulder was still there. But now, the wound had recovered its pink and tender color, and was no longer festering black. Gu Jingyu washed the dishes and put them away. He returned to Yiqing Luo's bedside. He sat down and chuckled. After today, we will no longer be strangers, he was smiling. There was a hint of amusement in his tone. But in the ears of the people. But it was so bitter. I really miss these 3 days. Gu Jingyu laughed lightly again, as a warm glint flowed between his eyes, as though a warm current flowed into her heart. And thank you for letting me have these 3 days of dreams. Yiqing Luo's drooping eyelids finally had some changes. She raised her head and looked at Gu Jingyu, as her slender brows creased. You're leaving. His words seemed like his final farewell. With the young lady's gaze, Gu Jingyu's lips turned even more radiant. That's right. I said before, I only wanted to save you. Chapter 45-92. Now that I've already saved you, it's time for me to leave. There was something subtle in his tone. It made Yiqing Luo feel a sense of uneasiness. You saved me, really, all right. She stared at his eyes without blinking, as she opened her mouth with difficulty. Gu Jingyu raised his finger and placed it on his lips, indicating her not to force herself to speak. After that, he smiled at her and shook his head. I'm really all right. I came to save you. I calculated the time. I can assure you that my master absolutely doesn't know. He paused as a sliver of disappointment flashed past his eyes. I'm preparing to leave because my master is coming out of his closed-door cultivation tomorrow. I must rush back to secluded palace before he comes out. Yiqing Luo saw all of Gu Jingyu's expressions. She didn't notice anything amiss. She suppressed the uneasiness in her heart as she nodded slightly at him. I understand. Gu Jingyu smiled again. Just like when she first met him, noble and gentle. His eyes were like gurgling warm water, extremely clear and moist. You don't intend to ask me to stay? Yiqing Luo shook her head, word by word. She spat out a silent airflow. You know very well that I won't ask you to stay. He laughed again. Yes, he was indeed clear. Even if he saved her, she would absolutely not change her view of him because of this. Their standpoints were destined to be different. She would never like him. Probably because she was mentally prepared. Or probably she had already decided on the thoughts in her heart. Gu Jingyu didn't feel as bad as he imagined. The corners of his lips were still able to maintain an upward arc. His face was still as moist as water. He slowly stood up. Although the profoundine fragrance has been expelled, but your wound still needs to be taken care of. I'll write a prescription for you. Let Bone Lord change your dressing on time every day. Saying that, he walked towards the table by the side. He had just taken a few steps. A young lady's voice was heard from behind, Gu Jingyu. Her voice was very soft. Only the movement of the airflow could be heard. Gu Jingyu immediately turned around and asked her concernedly, What's the matter? Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Yiqing Luo's eyes were burning as she looked at him, as she said word by word, In future, as long as you don't hurt the people around me, I will try my best to let you off. Even if she didn't want to owe him. She did not want to have anything to do with him anymore. But the truth was that it had happened. Gu Jingyu did save her. She couldn't really do as Gu Jingyu said and cut herself in half from now on. This was something that could no longer be cut apart. She accepted his kindness. It must be repaid. Yiqing Luo. Gu Jingyu's expression turned serious. He suddenly increased the strength of his palms on her arms. I've said it before. After today, we have nothing to do with each other. I owe you enough favors. Yiqing Luo frowned. You saved me, this is a fact. I saved you in exchange for a chance to end things between us. I'm using this method to force myself to give you up. Gu Jingyu's eyes rippled with a trace of madness. If you can't accept me and can't be with me, then don't give me any hope. Don't give me even a little bit of hope, that gentle and respectable man. Right now his breathing was hurried as he grabbed her arm, his emotions were very agitated. Yiqing Luo, I don't want you to be soft-hearted towards me, to show mercy to me. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter. The pain in his arms was also a little painful due to his agitation and tightening his grip. Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 45-93. Yiqing Luo didn't respond to his words. She only used a strange gaze to size him up. As though she was guessing the deeper meaning of his words. Gu Jingyu suddenly regained his senses as he let go of her arms. He stood up abruptly with his back facing Yiqing Luo. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. I just thought. He paused for a while before he continued to say the following words, I just thought, to really let you go. His hands slowly clenched into fists. Yiqing Luo. You're not willing to cut off all ties with me, can I have a little bit of hope, that actually you will fall in love with me? If there's no overlord, will you be with me? The man's tone was filled with caution and anticipation. Yiqing Luo looked at his back view. Looking at his stiff and slightly trembling body, Yizichin could not help but sigh. Momentarily she didn't know how to answer. No, I won't. Right at this moment, a chilly, low, and deep voice that was mellow and hoarse like fine wine sounded out. That voice was mixed with a deep and cold anger. It brought along an oppressive aura as it pressed forward. But in an instant, the entire thatched cottage seemed to have turned into an ice cellar, so cold that it was bone-chilling. That tensed-up Gu Jingyu, who was standing there, suddenly stiffened when he heard this voice. His eyes, uncontrollably widened. Totally different from Gu Jingyu's reaction was Yiqing Luo, who was on the bed. She suddenly sat up straight, her eyes went past Gu Jingyu, fixated on the front without blinking. Her long and narrow eyes surged with joy. Lil Luo, is my woman, you have no hope at all. The man walked into the room, his cold gaze looked at Gu Jingyu coldly. Even without me, it's not your turn. When he walked to Gu Jingyu's side, the man's expression became more vicious. In his eyes, a wisp of murderous intent could be seen spreading. Ah! Xian! The young lady's soft voice was heard from the front, and instantly attracted the man's attention. He retracted his murderous aura. He rushed to the side of the bed. Just as he sat on the side of the bed, the young lady had already pounced into his arms. The wound on the girl's shoulder was still there, and it looked very ghastly. His pupils constricted as he circled the girl's soft waist with one arm. The other hand wanted to encircle Yiqing Luo but was worried that it would touch the location of the wound. Little Luo, does it hurt? He looked at the girl's wound with heartache, and his eyes were bloodshot. Yiqing Luo buried her head tightly in the man's chest and shook it. But it hurts. The man's mellow voice was low, and he couldn't wait to rub the girl's delicate body into his. He lowered his head slightly. His nostrils were filled with the delicate fragrance of a young girl. His eyes gradually became warm. I miss you. Yiqing Luo's hands were tightly wrapped around his waist. Her head was pressed against the man's chest. She missed him too. I really want to. She had already planned to look for Dmo Xian after the profoundine fragrance was completely expelled from her body. Unexpectedly, he had already found his way here. The pair of lovers, who had missed each other for a long time, hugged each other tightly. It was as if the world between them could no longer contain a third person. That kind of sweetness, sincerity, without any impurities. Not too far away, the stiff Gu Jingyu stood there in a daze. He didn't dare to turn his head. Didn't want to look at the sweet scene between them. But even if he didn't turn his head, in his mind, he could imagine numerous scenes. He was the clearest. Just how loving was Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian. Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4594. After a long time, Gu Jingyu shut his eyes tightly, burying all the painful emotions in the deepest part of his heart. He lifted his feet and walked out of the thatched cottage, forcing himself not to turn back, to take another look at Yiqing Luo. Just as he closed the door, the middle-aged man's deep voice was heard from behind, leaving already. Yes. Gu Jingyu looked at the person in front. I should leave. You really want to cut off all ties with Qing Luo? Bloodbone Savage King's sharp brows examined Gu Jingyu. Gu Jingyu laughed. This is the only way, it's best for both of us. You can bear to. Bloodbone Savage King narrowed his eyes. This god is very clear, these few days, it's not that Qing Luo can't speak, but you. Don't let her speak. Gu Jingyu didn't panic after being discovered, instead he laughed. You saw through it. Bloodbone Savage King didn't reply, but the gaze that was examining him was filled with probing. Gu Jingyu raised his head, gazing at the slightly gray sky. He smiled, because, I'm afraid she will reject me. Her words are always so cold, not giving me any hope. All her tender feelings are only given to the Overlord alone. These 3 days is what I stole, the most blissful 3 days of my life. Now that I've woken up from my dream, it's time for me to leave. He retracted his gaze, looking back at Bloodbone Savage King. In future, I hope Bone Lord can take care of her when the Overlord is not around. And, if possible, try to persuade her. He took a deep breath, as though he had exhausted all his energy. If we really meet again, treat me as the real Palace Lord of Secluded Darkness Palace. In the house, the young couple were affectionate for a long time. Yiqing Luo then popped out her little head from his embrace. Ah Xian, how did you find me? When she spoke, every word was exhaled. Dmo Xian's eyes were filled with heartache, as he bent down and kissed her lips. I followed Bloodbone Savage King here. You. Have you found Xiao Yi and the rest? Yiqing Luo grabbed his robe tightly, as she asked carefully. Her tone was filled with apprehension and uneasiness. But he was afraid to find out about them. He was also looking forward to hearing their news from Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's body stiffened, his large palm caressed her face. Found it. His reaction scared her. The young girl was slightly startled. Her little hand gripped his collar tighter. Then, they're fine, right? Don't worry. Dmo Xian's slender fingers slowly unclenched her 5 tightly clenched fingers as he comforted her in a warm voice. You used the Azure Dew ring to protect them at the last moment. They're all right. After hearing this piece of news, all the worry and pressure that he had been feeling for the past few days disappeared. Her delicate body froze. He relaxed again. Her long and narrow eyes began to redden. They're all right. Are they really all right? Yiqing Luo's voice was slightly agitated. The airflow when she exhaled also made her throat feel extremely uncomfortable. But she didn't seem to notice it as she grabbed onto Dmo Xian and continued, then where are they now? They're all right, right? And Zhan he. Oh, Yiqing Luo wasn't able to finish her question in time. The man had already bent his head down, as he forcefully bit on her lips, sealing all her words. The man's overbearing aura instantly infected the young girl. Dear, this chapter has ended, I hope you enjoy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4595. Only when he had completely rendered the young girl unable to speak did he slowly let go of her. However, he did not forget to give her a fierce peck on her lips. They're fine, stop talking. Dmo Xian pulled her into his arms. Don't you believe me? Yiqing Luo leaned on his chest, panting lightly as her cheeks blushed slightly. She nodded in his arms. Naturally, she believed him. Only worried that Dmo Xian was afraid that she would be worried and purposely said these words to comfort her. Dmo Xian's large palm gently caressed the young lady's back. His eyes were filled with love and tenderness. Like a pool of spring water. He said softly, I heard from the Bloodbone Barbarian King that the mysterious Een fragrance will be completely expelled from your body by tomorrow. I will bring you to see them. Yiqing Luo nodded vigorously. But very quickly, she seemed to have thought of something as her tiny hands gripped onto the man's shirt, raising her head to look at him while mouthing, then, where's Zhan? Dmo Xian's eyes sunk slightly. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes nervously. She knew that Dmo Xian cared about her. Longyun Zhan was the one who hurt her. Even if it wasn't his intention. But the one who injured her was indeed Long Yunjian. She was worried that Dmo Xian would take action against Long Yunjian because of this. To Dmo Xian, those people in the world group, it was only because she cared about them that he would take care of them. If it wasn't for her, they were afraid that Dmo Xian would not even cast a glance at them. Long Yunjian had hurt her. Dmo Xian would definitely fly into a rage. I didn't find him. When he mentioned Long Yunjian, Dmo Xian's eyes turned sinister. From that day onwards, he disappeared without a trace. Yiqing Luo heaved a sigh of relief as she mouthed, "Ah, Xian isn't angry. Ah, Zhan he was. You don't have to explain for him." Dmo Xian's index finger pressed against Yiqing Luo's lips. "He hurt you. It's because of the secluded palace." Yiqing Luo still wanted to say something. Dmo Xian's kiss landed again. "Lil Luo, he hurt you. This point, there's no room for discussion." The next day. Heaven Realm, a courtyard in a relatively remote town. Gu Zishi finished brewing the medicine and handed it to Qiao Jin. "Be careful. Xiao Yi has been unconscious for 3 days. Why hasn't she woken up yet? Is she actually seriously injured?" Qiao Jin held the medicine, his face full of anxiety and unease. The man's ordinary face was haggard. The corners of his eyes were a patch of greenish-black. His chin was also covered with loose stubble. Gu Zishi shook her head with a troubled expression. "Ren Jianying's profound strength is too strange. I don't know what method or strength she used to injure Xiao Yi's internal organs," she sighed. "Right now, we can only temporarily use herbs to alleviate the spread of Xiao Yi's injuries. As for the rest, although she was a medicine master. However, these internal injuries were far beyond her understanding. She was still helpless. Especially now, their group was completely like fugitives in the Heaven Realm. If he stuck his head out, it was very likely that he was caught again. The power of the Palace of Darkness combined with the power of the Ren family. It was about to swallow the entire heavenly realm. She didn't even dare to go out to look for medicinal herbs, or to invite a more powerful doctor. Qiao Jin's eyes were filled with pain. He shut his eyes hard as he carried the medicine and went to Yan Xiaoyi's room. Gu Zishi looked at Qiao Jin's back view as she sighed silently. Behind her, an arm encircled her petite body. The man's gentle voice was heard from behind. "Qiao Jin is too worried about Xiao Yi. Don't take it to heart. Calm." WonderfulBookhouse.com. Chapter 4596. Gu Zishi's hand was placed on the arm which was encircling her as she leaned her head on his body. "I know, I can understand his feelings." Huangfu Xing's arms encircled his beloved woman as he sniffed the familiar fragrance of the woman. Only then could he be at ease. He could never forget the thrilling danger which they had experienced 3 days ago. Luckily that day, Yiqing Luo used the Azure Water God Relic's energy to protect them, delaying the time when they were swallowed. Luckily that day, the Overlord rushed over in time and saved them from danger. Otherwise, they would all be swallowed by that destructive forbidden art. They would no longer exist in this world. But Yiqing Luo was stabbed by Long Yunjian. Even though they were quite a distance apart, they could clearly see that when Long Yunjian stabbed towards Yiqing Luo, the wound on his shoulder was oozing out an undetectable black qi. It was a black qi which made one's hair stand on end upon seeing it. Following that, Yiqing Luo disappeared in front of their eyes. No one saw clearly how Yiqing Luo disappeared. Later on, they were sent to this place by the Overlord and left. 3 days passed. They didn't know what was Yiqing Luo's current situation. His heart was so heavy that it couldn't be any heavier. "I wonder where did Brother Long go to?" Huang Fuxing recalled that day when the overlord heard that it was Long Yunjian who injured Yiqing Luo. He sighed, if the overlord finds him, I'm afraid the overlord will not let him off. Luo and Brother Long's relationship. If the overlord really killed Brother Long, I'm afraid Luo will be upset. Gu Zixi eyelids drooped. They really couldn't imagine. Just a moment ago, they were still fighting side by side. The next moment, he pointed his weapon towards his teammate. They heard Qiao Jin's simple explanation, it was because Long Yunjian was controlled by the people from the Nether Palace. But, generally speaking, wanting to control someone, there must be a medium. Ever since Long Yunjian came to Heaven Realm, he had never acted alone. How did he get implanted by the people from the Nether Palace? Sister Ziqing, she went to look for Brother Long. Could it be that she knows where Brother Long is? Gu Zixi said worriedly, since Brother Long is already in a controlled state, if Big Sister Ziqing looks for him, wouldn't that is Ziqing's own choice. Huang Fuxing chuckled and kissed her hair. If I was also controlled and disappeared, would you look for me? Yes. He answered almost without hesitation. A faint smile appeared in Huang Fuxing's eyes. The overlord will definitely find Luo. As long as he finds Luo, he will definitely find Brother Long. Huang Fuxing rested his head on her shoulder. We have to trust them. The other side. Qiao Jin carried the medicinal concoction that Gu Zixi had brewed into the dark room. The room was extremely quiet. The air was still filled with the faint scent of medicine. Qiao Jin walked to the bedside and placed the bowl of medicine on the side. He sat by the bedside and gazed affectionately at the person on the bed. There was gentleness in his eyes. He stretched out his hand and gently stroked the woman's outline with his slender and fair fingers. His fingertips were warm, as if he was painting the woman's face with every stroke. Xiao Yi, after sleeping for so many days, it's time to wake up, Qiao Jin chuckled. His voice was hoarse, as if he had not drunk water for a long time. It was extremely dry. Dear, this chapter has ended. I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4597. The unconscious person on the bed suddenly grabbed Xiao Jin's hand with both hands. That strength was extremely strong. Qiao Jin's body suddenly stiffened. He looked at Yan Xiao Yi with ecstasy and opened his mouth, wanting to call her name. But when his gaze fell on her tightly closed eyes, it was as if a basin of cold water had been poured on him. He maintained his half-bowed posture in a daze and looked at Yan Xiao Yi's face without blinking. Cold sweat seeped out of the woman's forehead. Her brows were tightly knitted together and her body was still trembling slightly. Even if her eyes were tightly closed, one could see her pain at this moment. She didn't wake up. She didn't wake up. Qiao Jin quickly came back to his senses. Xiao Yi, what's wrong with you? Where are you feeling uncomfortable? I'll go and call Zixi now. He was about to move. Yan Xiaoyi's hand suddenly grabbed him tightly. Her body trembled even more violently. His lips were pale and wriggling as if he was trying to say something. Qiao Jin hurriedly turned around and held the woman's hands, bringing them to his lips and kissing them. I won't leave. Xiao Yi, I'm here. He held Yan Xiaoyi's hand as he carefully and gently pulled her into his embrace. He used his own warmth to dispel the coldness in her body at this moment. Jean. Vaguely, he seemed to hear the woman murmuring in a low voice. He looked at the woman's pained expression and slowly moved closer to his ears. The woman's pained, powerless and worried voice entered his ears. Jean, I won't let anything happen to you. Ah Jean, don't be stained by dirty blood, I will protect you, Ah Jean. Ah Jean, the woman was muttering Qiao Jin's name while she was unconscious. Qiao Jin's body slightly stiffened. Finally, slowly, he hugged the girl. His lips covered the girl's cold lips. His hoarse voice was clear and low. I'm fine, I'm well protected by Xiao Yi. You, hurry up and get well, continue to protect me, bang. A loud sound resounded in the courtyard. Then, the boundless profound waves pressed down. Numerous cracks rapidly appeared on the ground. The two of them, who were hugging each other in the courtyard, froze and quickly looked in the direction of the sound. He saw that on the walls of the courtyard, more than 20 black-clothed dark guards had gathered. In the sky, there were still a few flying magical beasts circling around. Huangfu Xing's expression changed. Not good. The Palace of Gloomy Darkness has discovered our tracks. Quickly go tell Qiao Jin and Xiao Yi to leave. Gu Zixi nodded and glanced at the enemies surrounding them. With a solemn expression, she quickly rushed to Yan Xiaoyi's room. You're really not dead yet. A sharp voice came from outside. Then, the courtyard's gate was kicked open. A woman dressed in a luxurious brocade robe walked in. Gong Shizhu. Huangfu Xing frowned when he saw the man. Why are you here? This princess is naturally here to capture you. Gong Xiazhu sneered as he scanned the courtyard. The dignified young master of the Huangfu clan is actually living in such a place. Aren't you afraid of lowering your social status? Huangfu Xing sized up Gong Xiazhu. On the surface, the entire heaven realm was divided between the Ren clan and the imperial family. But in reality, the imperial family had long become the Ren clan's lackey. Unexpectedly, Gong Xiaozhu personally chased them to a remote town that was still a long distance away from the old city. Was it because of Ren Jianing's order? Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4598. Gong Xiaozhu seemed to have seen through his doubts and sneered, I knew you guys were here, so I came all the way here. Why, are you touched? Huangfu Xing's eyes darkened. In that case, the Palace of Darkness was absolutely certain that they were hiding here. How did the Palace of Darkness find out about their whereabouts? Suddenly, there was a commotion coming from the walls of the backyard. Then there was the sound of the collision of the mystic waves. Gong Xiaozhu's expression froze and she quickly headed to the backyard. Huangfu Xing also hurried to catch up. Backyard. Qiao Jin carried Yan Xiao Yi and was blocked by the dark guards in the backyard. The man's golden eyes seemed to be shining with a dazzling golden light as he looked coldly at the group of people in front of him. All of you, scram. Xiao Yi doesn't want to see me stained with blood. Don't force me to kill you guys. The dark guards blocked in front of him. They were afraid of the man's golden eyes. But as dark guards, they were not allowed to have any fear or dread. After Gong Shizhu rushed over, she looked at Qiao Jin's eyes and sneered, Young Master Huangfu, so what if you have the inherited golden eyes of the Huangfu family? Do you think you can defeat the thousands of troops of the imperial family? Moreover, there is no such thing as the Huangfu family anymore. All the people of the Huangfu family are dead. Do you still care about your eyes? Gong Xiaozhu's words caused Qiao Jin's eyes to quickly look in her direction. His gaze was cold, like an emotionless beast. The golden flowing light was sharp and cold. Gong Xiaozhu felt a cold wind blowing over her body. She shuddered and looked around her surroundings a few times. Seeing that there were only two pairs of lovers in front of her, her expression instantly turned ugly. Where is Ren Jianming? Where is he hiding? Huangfu Xing frowned and was about to speak. Qiao Jin shook his head at him and stopped him. Then, his golden eyes looked coldly at Gong Xiaozhu. You want to know where Renjiaming is? I can tell you. Gong Xiaozhu's eyes flashed with a trace of fire. Where is he? Withdraw everyone and I will tell you where he is. Xiao Jin said indifferently. Gong Xiaozhu, impossible. Xiao Jin's thin lips curled up slightly, the coldness on his face becoming even more intense. Then, you can forget about ever knowing where Renjiaming is. Gong Xiaozhu's face turned red. His sinister eyes were filled with killing intent. Her fingers clenched tightly as she glared venomously at Xiao Jin. I want to see just how hard your bones can be. She took a step back and ordered, do it. There's an order from the Rin family, capture him alive. Yes. Countless profound practitioners in the surroundings swarmed into the courtyard. The chaotic footsteps caused the entire courtyard to tremble. Majestic profound waves spread out in the air. Huangfu Xing blocked in front of Qiao Jin, took out his weapon, and slashed forward. Qiao Jin, leave with Xiao Yi first. Qiao Jin stood there without moving. Hurry up and leave. Xiao Yi could not be injured again. Even if it's for Xiao Yi, quickly leave. Gu Zixi pushed Qiao Jin. Qiao Jin looked at the large number of profound practitioners in front of him. A thick aura pervaded the entire courtyard. His golden eyes flickered slightly. Then, he handed the person in his arms over to Gu Zixi. Take her away. Leave this, to me. No. No. How can you be their match? Gu Zixi hugged Yan Xiao Yi and was stunned for a moment, her face instantly turning pale. Qiao Jin did not turn back. He took a large step forward and took about 3 steps. Suddenly, a dazzling golden light burst out from his body. Dear, this chapter has ended. I hope you enjoy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4599. Bang, bang, bang. The surrounding air suddenly exploded one by one. When the surrounding enemies were touched by the golden light, they were instantly killed. They actually exploded into minced meat. That tyrannical and powerful energy quickly spread in all directions. Under the profound light, the man shrouded in golden light had his robes fluttering in the profound wave, making a flapping sound. His scattered black hair also danced under the strong wind. It was like a beast that had been trapped for a long time had finally escaped. That kind of astonishment was enough to make one shudder. Qiao Jin, the man in front of him, made Huangfu Xing feel horrified. Looking at the back view, it was him. But the aura around him made one feel unfamiliar. Huangfu Xing recovered from the shock and quickly looked at Gu Zixi. Quickly leave with Xiao Yi. Qiao Jin and I will cover the rear. But. Gu Zixi eyes were full of worry. With Qiao Jin here, don't worry, don't look down on our Huangfu family bloodline. Huangfu Xing curled his lips at her. Suddenly, he stretched out his hand. He pulled the woman into his arms, bent down and kissed her on the lips. My source of energy. The corners of his lips curled up into a smile. When he let go of the woman, that pair of black eyes was covered with a layer of dark gold. Gu Zixi hugged Yan Xiao Yi tightly, her eyes staring at Huangfu Xing. She took a deep breath. Xiao Yi and I will wait for you to find us. After she finished speaking, she hugged Yan Xiao Yi and quickly turned around, rushing towards another corner. Someone wanted to stop them. But they were stopped by Huangfu Xing. A group of people were actually stopped by 2 people in the courtyard. Gong Xiaozhu's expression immediately twisted and turned green. She suddenly drew out a long sword from the side and charged straight towards Qiao Jin's direction. Between her brows, there was a sinister and terrifying look. What Huangfu family? It's just a joke, so what if it's golden eyes? A joke is a joke. The long sword fell. Xiao Jin didn't even dodge. He directly raised his hand and caught the long sword that was stabbing towards him. Bang! There was a loud bang. The long sword collided with the golden light. The collision produced intense sparks. Endless waves surged wildly and spread out. The profound practitioners who were relatively close to him spat out mouthfuls of blood as their bodies were sent flying. Gong Xiaoju's eyes grew increasingly sinister. Unable to pull out her sword, she simply let go of it. There seemed to be some kind of black mist in her eyes, and the corners of her mouth curled up mockingly. Golden eyes. This princess will poke your eyes blind. Let's see what you can do then. Show off your golden eyes. Out of nowhere, she took out a dagger that emitted a black aura. It looked like a very blunt dagger. It was as if it couldn't cut through anything. When Xiao Jin's gaze came into contact with the dagger, his face slightly sunk. He let go of his sword and quickly retreated while shouting at Huangfu Xing, "Be careful of the dagger in her hand." It's too late. Gong Xiaozhu grinned. He raised the dagger in his hand and wrapped it around Xiao Jin. "This is something that Patriarch Ren specially gave me to deal with your Huangfu family, Tong Ren. Now that you've lost your golden eyes, what power do you have to fight with me?" Gong Xiaozhu brandished her dagger. The black aura floated and continuously headed towards Xiao Jin's eyes. That black aura seemed to have its own consciousness. It was another attack from all directions without any blind spots. Xiao Jin took care of the black aura. Gong Xiaozhu's attack had already swiftly slashed towards him. Bang! Suddenly, a piercing cold intent shot over from afar. Gong Xiaozhu only felt something swaying in front of her. Her hand was pierced by a sharp object. Chapter 4600. Under Xiao Jin's golden eyes, a black scythe with an extremely complicated totem appeared. That was Xiao Yi's black scythe. Xiao Jin's pupils contracted. He grabbed the black scythe with one hand and quickly looked towards the direction where the black scythe was coming from. He saw Yan Xiaoyi, who was originally unconscious and was carried away by Gu Zixi, had already woken up. She placed one hand on Gu Zixi's shoulder, her body weak and powerless. But when she looked up, a piercingly cold light shot out from her beautiful eyes, filled with determination. Xiaoyi, it was a smile. She used the black scythe to block Gong Xiaozhu's attack. Why did she come back? Xiao Jin's heart felt as if it was being strangled by something, causing him to feel as if even his breathing had been frozen. Why did she come back? He was afraid that she would be injured, that was why he let them leave first. He looked around at the ferocious and bloodthirsty profound practitioners around him. Xiao Jin's heart was beating rapidly. Almost without any hesitation. He grabbed the black scythe tightly and sprinted towards Yan Xiaoyi's direction. Ah! Gong Xiaozhu clutched her wrist, her face contorted in pain. She gritted her teeth as she glared at Xiao Jin's swiftly departing figure and roared in a terrifying rage, "Want to leave? Not so easy." She used her other uninjured hand to grip the dagger tightly. The blunt and clumsy blade looked ordinary and unremarkable. But this was the only thing that could deal with the Huangfu family's golden eye. As long as she had this dagger. Those two from the Huangfu family could only wait to be captured. And they still wanted to have a happy ending. She was going to torture another person to death in front of these two lovers. Gong Xiaozhu's face contorted, her eyes filled with uncontrollable madness. She ignored her pierced hand and dashed towards Xiao Jin's back. Idiot! Huff, huff. Pay attention to your back, I'm fine. Yan Xiaoyi panted heavily, as though she was trying her best to endure the pain. Her face grew increasingly pale. Xiao Yi, you're not in a good condition now, stop talking. Gu Zishi could clearly feel how much Yan Xiaoyi's delicate body was trembling as she hung on her. More and more weight was leaning on her. It was as if he wouldn't be able to hold on any longer. Yan Xiaoyi shook her head as she watched Gu Zishi swiftly clear up the surrounding profound practitioners, before bringing her closer to Qiao Jin. It wasn't her who wanted to be a burden and didn't want to leave. Instead, Gong Xiazhu did not give them a chance to leave. There were even more profound practitioners surrounding the backyard. It was impossible for her and Gu Zishi to escape. Why not, to return to the battlefield and fight alongside Qiao Jin, to be able to stay by your side, I'm willing to die. The low voice was soft and soundless. Even Gu Zishi, who was at a close distance, asked in confusion when she killed a profound practitioner in front of her, "What? What did you say?" Gu Zishi didn't hear it. But in front of him, not far away, the man who was getting closer and closer to her seemed to have sensed something. That pair of golden eyes stared at her unblinkingly. Like a ray of sunlight, it shone into Yan Xiaoyi's heart. Qiao Jin's 5 fingers suddenly tightened. He let out a beast-like roar. Golden light burst forth. The majestic profound light, with a power that seemed to be able to destroy the heavens and earth, exploded in all directions. Tragic cries were quickly swallowed by the golden light. The surroundings had almost turned into a pile of ruins. Chapter 46:01. Xiao Yi. Qiao Jin rushed in front of Yan Xiaoyi and carried her down from Gu Zishi's shoulders. Yan Xiaoyi leaned into Qiao Jin's embrace and smelled his scent. The empty place in her heart was filled up. Her breathing also became much calmer. "Why are you so stupid? Why did you come back?" Qiao Jin hugged Yan Xiaoyi tightly, his tone full of heartache. "If you get hurt again, what do you want me to do? Since Gong Xiazhu is here, he must have set up an inescapable trap. How can Zishi and I escape?" Yan Xiaoyi said softly, "If I hadn't come, Gong Xiazhu's sword would have pierced your body." She took a deep breath and moved her lips with difficulty. "See, I saved your life again." The woman's face was extremely pale. Even her words were barely audible. Qiao Jin's heart ached when he saw that. He hugged her tightly. You saved me again. What are you still in a daze for? Have you forgotten what Qing Luo told us earlier?" Yan Xiaoyi's consciousness started to dissipate. However, he still forced himself to continue. "Don't be distracted on the battlefield." Qiao Jin's heart suddenly jolted. "Xiaoyi, don't sleep, don't sleep. You saved me, now watch me protect you. Open your eyes." Yan Xiaoyi could only vaguely hear Qiao Jin calling her name. However, she could no longer hear what he was saying. "My head feels heavy, so heavy," she could not open her eyes. "You still have the mood to be lovey-dovey here. All of you can go to hell." Gong Xiazhu's eyes were scarlet and filled with jealousy and hatred. Gong Xiazhu was holding a dagger. It actually sliced open the golden light emitting from Qiao Jin's body, cleaving out a path. "Qiao Jin." Huangfu Xing's dark golden pupils suddenly shrunk as he shouted sternly, "Your Huangfu bloodline can't block Gong Xiazhu's dagger. Dodge it." "Master," vaguely, in Yan Xiaoyi's space of consciousness, there seemed to be someone calling her name. She struggled to open her eyes. He tried hard to gather his consciousness. "Master, Qiao Jin is in danger." It was the black sickle blade. Yan Xiaoyi's ears twitched. In her consciousness, the words, "Qiao Jin is in danger," kept repeating. "Qiao Jin. Ah Jin." At this moment, Yan Xiaoyi's consciousness shot out a powerful willpower. Suddenly, she opened her eyes. His hand grasped the hilt of the black sickle blade. In the meantime, Gong Xiaozhu held the dagger and swung it down. That ferocious face was filled with hysterical madness. "Fool!" Qiao Jin said coldly. He didn't notice Yan Xiaoyi's awakening. The golden light at the bottom of his eyes was like a dazzling sun, emitting a resplendent brilliance. Boundless golden light. It was like a golden storm. The attack spread throughout the entire space. Qiao Jin's sleeves fluttered in the wind. But Yan Xiaoyi gripped the black scythe tightly. An aura of death that came from hell emanated from the black scythe. Bang! The light of the black scythe merged with the golden light. It turned into a majestic and powerful profound radiance and blocked in front of Gong Xiaozhu. Xiao Yi. Qiao Jin sensed Yan Xiaoyi's power and lowered his head to look at the person in his arms. Profound waves surged, black gas and golden light intertwined. Yan Xiaoyi's half-squinted beautiful eyes met the man's eyes in a daze. Something as thin as a cicada's wing was blown away in the strong wind. Yan Xiaoyi's half-squinted beautiful eyes gradually widened little by little. Profound waves vibrated, and strong qi floated. The man's black hair bared his fangs and brandished his claws behind him. The golden light hit the man's face lightly. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.